Happy Monday, diehards, degenerates, my gamblers. How's everybody out there doing? Welcome to the Die Hard MMA podcast. We're talking UFC London this week, and we made some money last week. We're rocking the baby blues. We're feeling good. 9 units up at UFC Vegas 77. We absolutely smashed that card. I think I went like 11-3 on my fight predictions as far as the final picks on the card went, and the only bet that we didn't hit was freaking Chelsea Chandler. I'm not entirely certain that winning 9 units was enough to overcome the awful performance of Chelsea Chandler. Like, that was so bad that I still may not have made enough money on the card to counterbalance the embarrassment of picking her to win that fight. And then Norma Dumont actually, like, for the first time in her entire career, showing some semblance of fight IQ in that fight. The fact that she still didn't even manage to finish it, like, Norma Dumont is still not to be trusted, folks. I will not change my stance on that whatsoever. But Mayra Bueno Silva comes in with a giant bang, grabs us the bag. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to rock. We're seeing the board clearly. I hope all of your pockets are full and jingling. Sorry, we're a few minutes late here to the show. We had some technical difficulties. We got a big fight card to get to. But you know what? Last week we weren't live. Y'all didn't get your shout outs. We're live. You deserve it. Colby Saul, Ethan Harvey. We've got George Ray Paro, my guy, Mushroom, Jonathan Ingram, the Grateful Dude. We got a new member here, the Money Liner. Welcome to Pub Sports Radio. Thank you very much. Dixon Sider, VGO. We've got David Hartman, my guy Patrick, Addicted to Combat in the house. Glenn Bott, Anthony, 916 Dave. I think that's a new name. I don't recognize that one. Forgive me if you've been here before, but I don't think I've seen that one. We've got Cole in the house. What's up? Johnny Parsons also hanging out, and everybody just rolling in here. What's up, everybody? We are kicking ass. I updated the record, folks. We are 2 units shy of up 50 units for 2023. So for all the people that doubted me, all the people that counted me out for my down year last year, we're this close. We're going to right the damn ship. We're having ourselves a hell of a year. And speaking of it, Justin, get the fuck out of here, Vikings hater. I don't want to hear any of that. This is my stream. This is my Vikings all day, baby. It's almost football season. I can't wait, buddy. Pepe in the house. What's up? See you too in there, Dirty Reg. How's everybody doing? All right, folks. We got a great card. We got a big-ass card, UFC London. It's actually relatively stacked, especially compared to the dumpster that we dove into just last week. So it warranted an excellent guest as well, making his die-hard debut. I am more than happy to introduce VB MMA Picks. VB, welcome to the show, my guy. How you doing today?
Hey man, how are you? I'm doing really good. I'm really excited to break this card down with you. 15 fights, a lot of good fighters on this card. Ranked guys. Main event is intriguing as well. So let's get into it. Excited.
Absolutely. I'm so pumped. How'd you do? Okay. So how'd you do last week? And just for the people who don't follow you on Twitter, who don't know you, how's your year been going?
Yeah, so I started the year really well. I won 14 in a row. Then I had small loss. Then I won again. Last couple of weeks, not so well. Last week, it was around break even, so I wasn't too mad about it. At least I was on normal. But just kidding. But I had some good calls, some bad calls. Overall, I'm not too unhappy with my calls. Few like props were really close. Munoz TK was right there, plus 900. Mayra around 1 right there. It was around too early. So overall not too unhappy. But you can find me on Twitter. Basically, that's my social media. That's what I use on YouTube also. I have a show. Actually, I have new one as well with my guy Dagestan. So it's going well for me overall this year.
Absolutely. Anybody who's on Twitter knows all about VB. The guy's absolutely one of the sharpest minds in the game. So happy to bring him on the show and happy to introduce him, hopefully, to a bunch of you who do not know who he is. Make sure you check out VB on Twitter and check his show out. Folks, we don't want to stick around too long doing this stuff because we're already running a little bit late today, and we have got an absolute banger of a card to get to here. So first fight up, we have got to talk to you about Jafel Filho. He's taken on Daniel Barez. And this is a fight, VB, that I am very, very, very interested in. Can't wait to talk about this whole thing and break it down here with you on this card. What we've got is, most of you may recognize the name Jafel Filho, 14-3. But what you may not recall is why you recognize that name. This is the guy who took Muhammad Mokaev to the limit. You know, Mokaev came in that fight. He was a 9-1 favorite, a 10-1 favorite, I think, in that spot. Everyone absolutely counted Filho out, and he pushed him to the limit. He ripped his knee apart, absolutely destroyed his leg. Somehow Mokaev survives it and somehow comes back and taps him deep in the third round to get the finish victory. He fights out of Nova União. Excellent kicker, does a great job standing at range. He avoids well and then returns fire with big body kicks. He's very aggressive. He does fire some big looping punches, which you can kind of worry about sometimes defensively, but he makes it work. He seems to have a little bit of a question around his gas tank. He burned himself out trying to finish Muhammad Mokaev. I don't know if we can necessarily hold that against him, though. He just put everything he had into finishing a guy that I'm not sure can be finished at this point in his career. So question mark, gas tank. Maybe it's good. Maybe it needs work. I'm not entirely certain. Taking on Daniel Barez, 16-5. Now, he lost on Dana White's Contender Series to Carlos Hernandez. And if you rewind just a week or two back, I probably would have used that as a big negative mark against him. I've had to recalibrate my opinion of Carlos Hernandez. In fact, his last fight, we bet on him and we doubled down hard on him because I finally woke up and realized that I was being a little biased against this guy. He comes through, cashes a nice big ticket for us. So looking back, we got to be like, okay, Carlos Hernandez, he lost that fight by split. Maybe this guy does deserve a shot here at the UFC with my newfound respect for Hernandez. But he's 34 years old, VB. He's 4 years older than his opponent here in this spot. He is on a 4-fight win streak, but all of his opponents are over. These last 4 wins, they've been over bums. You know, 10-9, 7-9, 6-9, 14-12. He's not fighting anybody good. He's got reckless aggression, though. He's fun to watch. He comes forward, throws everything with bad intentions. He does carry his hands a little bit low, and he swings these wild, powerful hooks from his hips. Solid pull counters. I like the way he walks people into shots. He does have hard calf kicks, but he throws them a little bit naked sometimes, and he just bites down and swings that overhand right. I kind of like what I see from Barez. I think he'll be a fun addition to the UFC. He's going to have some fun, exciting fights. However, I think we should give credit to Filho for what he did in that last fight. And I think what we saw from Barez, especially in the Hernandez fight where he got his back taken and was basically backpacked for an entire round, I think Filho can do that to this guy too. Filo's a short favorite, minus 125, plus 105 to come back on Barez. I don't have a bet yet on this one, VB, but I am leaning towards Filho. And I might be tempted on Filho by sub once those prop numbers come out. What do you think of this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, what do I even add, man? You mentioned everything basically, but I mean, one thing that I was actually, looking at in this fight, who had like a better cardio was like question mark for me before like tape. Actually, Barez doesn't have a bad cardio. I thought it was actually worse than it is, And I watched some tape on him. He usually gets like early finishes, but if it goes late, he has some decision wins as well, So I thought Filho was like more kind of processed guy with better striking, maybe, Barez is kind of wild here and there, But I think this fight is gonna be competitive, like fight overall. I think pick him line is about right. But one advantage I would give to Filho is like I think overall, like he has better finishing instincts than Barez, I've seen Barez like hurt people and then go for a takedown, stuff like that, which I didn't like in older fights. But overall, man, like his performance in Contender Series was pretty impressive. Like he took that guy down, Carlos, who actually has good takedown defense, a good get-up game, multiple times. I actually bet Carlos in that fight. I thought actually I lost. I was happy to get a nod, but Barez did show up. So I'm gonna go with Filho still because I think overall, if he hurts Barez or if he puts him in a bad position, I think he'll put him away. So I think he has more finishing upside in this fight than Barez. Mm-hmm. But it's a close fight, I think it could go either way, really, to be honest. So I still like Feel a little bit more. If you remember, Clint, also like in a Mokai fight, it was 1-1 going to the third. A third
Mhm.
one was going Filo's way. Like he had Mokaev in a knee bar that injured Mokaev. He's still out, and he was winning the third round, and then at the end of the round, Mokaev finds a finish, but he was basically on his way to win a decision in that fight. So that's people overlooked it, I think. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's because he got finished that people are maybe swaying away from that, but for a guy that was a 6-1, 7-1 underdog to be 1-1 going into the third and basically dominating that third round against a very hyped prospect, I feel like we're selling him just a little bit short here. So I'm with you on Team Brazil. I lean towards Filho. I'm not sure if I'll make it to the window. There's some good spots on this card, VB. We'll be talking about all of them here in a minute. But I'm glad we at least start on the same page there, agreeing that that's probably the side for this first fight of the night.
Let's go.
Let's go. All right, everybody. We've already got over 100 live viewers here on the show. This is Pub Sports Radio. The show is brought to you by Bet Openly. And my guest this week is VB. Make sure you guys hit that like button for me. Make sure the algorithm knows that you like the free content coming to you here this evening. The next fight up that we're going to talk to you about, if I can get this stupid thing off there, is Bruna Brasil taking on Shauna Bannon. And this fight is actually a lot more intriguing than I expected it to be, VB. I actually, looking at this fight early on in the week, was wondering what they were doing here with this one. It's weird that this girl gets brought in to the UFC undefeated, not a whole lot of experience, 5-0, but you know what? She's the local flavor, right? That makes perfect sense. She's the local flavor. Bruna Brasil, people couldn't be lower on Bruna Brasil. She came from Dana White's Contender Series, makes her UFC debut. She's a big favorite, and we know that's not the way to play, right? Like we figured out that when these Dana White's Contender Series contestants come in the UFC and they're overhyped, they're overchalked, they're big favorites, they just don't tend to do all that well in that position. And she got smoked by Denise Gomes. Now, Gomes is making waves. Gomes just knocked out a big time contender in the UFC and is putting herself on the map. So, in hindsight, that loss actually does not look all that bad. Questions surrounding Bruna Brasil, though. I talked about this when I broke down her fight against Denise Gomes. I felt like she was extremely fraudulent on Dana White's Contender Series. Her opponent was itty bitty. She looked like she was 2 weight classes too small coming into that fight. She's tall, she's long, she's light on her feet. She's got a good digging body kick. She really requires the range to fight at her best, but she showed some really improved takedown defense and body lock and cage control, even against Denise Gomes, who's very strong, very powerful, very explosive. You can tell she's working on the holes in her game. Shauna Bannon, 5-0 undefeated, coming from Invicta. She also has kind of a light on her feet, bouncing footwork style, lots of feints, long touching jab. She also has a big left kick that she tries to aim at that liver, switches it up, throws it high once in a while, but she stands directly in front of her opponent's VB. She's very hittable and she's very slow on the reload. You know, she gets out there and puts a lot of offense out, but then when she has to get her guard back, I think some, quicker strikers are going to be able to take advantage of that. On top of that, as with most of these, young, inexperienced people making their debut, she's just got so little experience. Her opponent's record 6-4, 1-2, 3-0. Like, she hasn't really fought anybody. I feel like this is another spot where Bruna Brasil has basically every advantage everywhere, and Shauna Bannon, she's the local girl. She's getting a bit of a rub, and everybody's a little down on Brazil, and maybe that's why this line is so close. Again, I haven't bet it yet, but I feel like Bruna Brasil should be a decent bit larger favorite here in this spot. What do you make of this fight, man?
Yeah, I agree with you for the most part. I think like when Shauna got signed, I was like, it's kind of too early for her because like if you look at her career, she has only couple of pro fights over people who are mostly unknown and very very low level fighters. I mean, one girl she decision was 1-3, and it was like a decision, and the other two, I think, 3-0, as you mentioned. And so basically, she's been fighting very, very low level competition. I'm not saying, Bruna Brasil is like levels above in this fight or anything, but I still think she has like better overall game. She's more dangerous. like she kind of reminds me of Marina Rodriguez a little bit, just like fragile version of Marina Rodriguez,
Yeah.
with maybe like better ground game, maybe from her back or something. But she's like kind of fragile. That's what I don't like about her. It's kind of like hittable. She has that like defense, which I don't like, chin up in the air more, And Dennis Gomez put her away because of that, So I'm kind of afraid she doesn't get like taken down here and physicality is an issue or something, That's kind of my worry. But I think she can kick Bannon in the distance, and she could probably stop her late, because Bannon takes a lot of shots in her fights,
Mm-hmm.
But she's kind of tough. I gotta give her that. As an amateur, she actually went to a decision with Tekola Dicheva, who is a good fighter,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that Bannon is tough girl. She's never been stopped as a pro or knocked out. So I think it's probably going over, But I still lean Brazil. She looks to be in great shape. If you look at her, she's jacked. But again, like that durability is like always a worry for me. Three
Mm-hmm.
losses, all three by knockout. That's like kind of worrying. But I still think skill for skill, she's just sharper. Everywhere kind of.
I'm going to be curious to see the face-offs. I want to see how these two size up with one another because I've got a feeling that Bruna Brazil might look a little bit larger than the 1 inch height discrepancy that the stat numbers are giving me right now. And if that's accurate, I know size isn't everything, but with them having a very similar kicking style, fighting at range the way that they do, I feel like I would like Bruna Brazil even more if she was a decent bit taller here. And on top of that, one thing I wanted to ask you, VB, what if she decides to flip the script? We saw Bruna Brazil start to go to the grappling and push the body lock against the wrong opponent in Denise Combs. What if she takes Bannon down? Like, I think she could have a very easy path in the grappling if she decided to go to that. What do you make of that angle?
I don't think it's impossible. Bannon is pretty unexperienced. She's been fighting people who don't know how to wrestle. They can
Mm-hmm.
strike. They're basically just standing there taking her shots. And she just gives me wrong vibes. I don't know why, but she does. She just every day posting like, oh, this and that, like kind of too worried about taking pictures. To be honest, I don't know. It seems like every chance she gets, she posts something about not fighting. I don't like that, but I can see Bruna taking her down. I can see Bruna taking her, to the ground and possibly subbing her. Bruna has, I think, 2 or 3 subs on her record, so it's not completely impossible. I still think it's, kind of fight where they start early and they're exchanging, and at some point they just end up in the clinch for eternity. Just you know, it's a close fight, kind of, in my opinion, after the first 7 minutes. But I think early Bruna has finishing upside.
I hear you. Absolutely. And real quick, my guy Dixon Sider, they're not trying to showcase Bruna in London. She's the sacrificial lamb. And you know what? I completely agree with you there, Dixon. The problem with that is we all bought into Narrative Nation just 2-3 weeks ago. Son, Mexico is in flames. The UFC doesn't have a single Mexican fighter that is in a prime position right now. And they just promised a big pay-per-view event. They're supposed to have 3 champions in a title shot on the way. They all lost their belts. Like, unfortunately, not the Narrative Nation does not always win out. So I completely agree with you. Bannon is the fighter that they're trying to showcase here. Bannon is the fighter that they want to win. And to VB's point, she does a good job taking pictures. The UFC is wanting to push this pretty girl that's pretty good at fighting. That doesn't mean she's going to win, though. So it's definitely going against the script if you take a stab here on Bruna Brazil. But personally, I just think she's a little bit better everywhere. Oh, you're right. You're right. We still got Grasso. Sorry about that right answer. You're correct. We still got Grasso. All right, everybody, here we go. Next fight up that we're going to talk to you about, Miss Ketlen Vieira returns to the big stage. She's taking on Kianzad, and I like Kianzad. I'm going to be honest with you, VB. I like Kianzad. I like the way she fights. I like her game. I like the way that as the fight progresses, she sits down harder and harder on her punches. It takes her just, a little bit to get going. But once she does get going, she seems to kind of find her groove and work her way into these fights here. I'm not a huge fan of Ketlen Vieira at this point. I mean, I should be. I feel like I've been maybe a little bit too hard on Ketlen Vieira, but I've been burned one too many times. It's like every time I bet on her, that's when she loses. If I try to fade her, that's when she scrapes by. Like she almost popped Miesha Tate's head off. I used that. I'm sorry, not Miesha Tate, Holly Holm. She almost popped Holly Holm's head off. And that was part of the reason why I was really looking forward to Silva inside the distance this past week here. And she got a split win over Rocky, going back-to-back splits the way that she has against high-level competition. It's proven that she's rounding out. You know, these older fighters, they're aging out. We've talked about this being the year of change, and Ketlen Vieira is taking her place towards the top end of this division, but she's still really struggling to distance herself from the competition. She struggles to break away and actually put a stamp on a fight so that people really know that she's the victor. But I like everything about her game. You know, she'll have a 2-inch reach advantage here, 92% takedown defense, high pace, high volume, long rangey jab, judo background, BJJ black belt. Like she's got everything that you'd want to see. Kianzad 16-6. She got to the 2-0 victory over Lena Landsberg in a bloody war in her last fight. Lena, tough as nails, like every single time she fights. She punched her way back into that one deep, even though it looked like Pannie Kianzad was kind of running away with it. I like her left hook. She sits down on her punches, like I mentioned, especially deeper in the fight when her opponents start to open up a little bit more. That volume kind of ratchets its way up. This is going to be a banger, VB. These two girls are going to stand in the center of the cage, and they're going to throw down because neither of them will be able to get a takedown. I lean towards Ketlen Vieira, but I wouldn't be shocked at all, quite frankly, if Pannie Kianzad pulls off an upset in this spot. This might be your classic women's MMA split. You've got Vieira minus 165 favorite, plus 140 on Kianzad. And, you know, I think betting-wise, it'd have to be dog or pass for me because I don't think the judges are going to know who won this thing at the end of 15 minutes. What do you make of this one?
Yeah, honestly, I don't think I'm betting money line on either of them. Like, it seems like, you know, both girls have path, and I'm not sure like what really happens because Vieira sometimes stands there too much and eats a lot of shots, and sometimes we have seen her completely knocked out unconscious. You know, like Aldana completely put her out. So she sometimes just does nothing. You know, even when she gets a takedown, basically she just holds people down, doesn't do any damage. You know, so it's kind of you know hard to trust girl like that when only thing they want to do is just literally slow fight down and don't do nothing, you know, just kind of get by. So I think that Vieira will be able to get few takedowns though. I'm not completely sold on Kianzad's takedown defense. Like she has been taken down a few times by Avila. She has some subder, you know, so she's been taken down, right, you know, and I think that's probably what Vieira should do. But Vieira takes people down and does nothing. So I can see a scenario where Vieira gets 2 minutes of top control, Kianzad gets up, and then still wins a round, you know? So I see the kind of close fight. I agree with you. So if it's a close fight, I would say it's dog or pass on money line, which, you know, for me is not enough dog odds on Kianzad. It was maybe 190, 200. I would probably take her, you know?
Absolutely.
But 150, I'm tempted, but not you know, not completely sure I want to take her anyway. So I think that, you know, Vieira is like small favorite in this fight, should be 150 range, maybe 150 minus 150, 160 around there. But right now we are seeing, you know, odds moving down. So if it keeps moving down, like then I have to bet Vieira, you know. So it's all about the line in this fight. I think it's a very close fight. I think it's 60-40 Vieira fight, you know. But if you got early number on Kianzad, I think you did well, you know.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you there. And honestly, we'll see where this number goes, VB, because I do think this is a coin flip fight, and I'm trying to stay away from the coin flips because, you know, you're relying on the judges and you win by a split decision, you lose by a split decision. Those hurt when you lose those. But the bigger this number goes, if we do get plus 170, if we do get plus 180, I'm going to have to bet Kianzad. I'm just going to have to because I think people are enamored right now with Ketlen Vieira, and I've kind of talked about her power before. And again, I have to lean heavily on this breakdown because I mentioned Ketlen Vieira when prepping for the Silva bet against Holly Holm. She was busting Holly up. She had Holly hurt on the feet several times in that fight. But when you actually look at the way she wins, it's all decisions. Like, it seems like Ketlen Vieira should just have this stupid raw power in her hands. She seems to hurt her opponents on the feet every single fight. 2 KO wins. Just 2. That's it. Her whole career, she's got 2 KO wins. And she doesn't KO anybody at the UFC level. So I'm starting to question whether or not she actually knows how to finish with those hands of hers. And if we're going to be in a grindy, grimy decision, someone like Pannie Kianzad, I think she'll be able to compete in that area. We're going to go volume for volume, 2 tough decisionators, split decision all day. If we get a bigger number on the plus money, give me the dog.
Yeah, I agree, man. And also, like, after last loss, Vieira seems to be really down on herself. Did you see her IG? Like, she's posting about some, Bible. She's like spiritual now. She's kind of sad, I think, depressed. So that's also like a little bit concerning. Where is her head? Because we have seen Rory take similar path, and then these people that don't want to fight anymore, they want to be religious, and they don't want to punch people in the face. So it's kind of a red flag for me as well, So I think I'm just gonna pass on this fight overall. I think 60-40 is around right, maybe a little bit less, but it's hard to say what kind of Vieira shows up. We have seen Vieira submit Sarah McCann, and then we have seen Vieira lose to Yana Santos. So it's like, I think with her, it's like a mental thing, and I don't know where she is mentally, right now. So I'm just gonna pass, I think. But I'm gonna pick Vieira still.
That's a very valid point, man. That's a very valid point. I mean, I think about like Rory McDonald is probably the most prolific example of that recently. When he found God, he completely disappeared as the Red King. Like, he was never the Red King ever again once he started attending church. And that is coming from a man of faith. Like, I'm not knocking people finding God, but when it comes to fighters, I want somebody who's foaming at the mouth, who wants to hurt their opponents. So I'm with you. I think that's a questionable thing for that mentality. And if she's not there in her head, that makes you wonder if you want to put your money on her, for sure.
Yes, sir.
All right. And Pepe, if you could just quit lording your glorious money lines over me, I would appreciate it. This man always shows up with these gigantic plus numbers, and I'm like, I would take a better number. And he locked it in like 6 months ago or some shit. Pepe, you dirty bastard. And okay. All right. Real quick. I just come closer. Lewis. Yes, I had Chandler all day last week. Yes, I did. I predicted she was going to win. I went hard on it. I absolutely sold for that prediction. I was ready for that fight, and I was wrong. But you know what I did do? I profited 9 units on the event, baby. I absolutely smashed. So I don't want to hear about it. Yes, I got that one wrong, and you're allowed to mock me for how hard I went on it. But I still destroyed that card. So props where they're due. Come on, give it up. All right, next up, Chris Duncan takes on the Red Fox, Yanal, Ashmouz, and I've been waiting, VB. I have absolutely been waiting. Oh, and Lewis, my man, I know. I just had to take the opportunity. I know it's all love. I've been waiting for this spot, man. My guy, the Red Fox, Yanal Ashmouz. I've been waiting for him to come back and make a splash, okay? I'm one of the few people who took him in his UFC debut. He absolutely nuked Patterson as a plus 225 underdog in his debut. And I'm thinking, this man is small. He's tanky. He trains at the K Dojo with all these Russian grapplers. Like, he's going to not make the mistake that lets Patterson back in this fight, right? Like, that was kind of my whole cap on the fight. He's going to be able to take the big kicks. He'll slow him down. He'll grind on him. He'll be tough enough. He'll be durable enough. No. He comes out and one punches the dude. I was like, okay. So he's got power to go with the grind. He's got power to go with the durability and the wrestling. I like this kid even more now. But once again, my man is being disrespected. He opens up as an underdog to Chris Duncan, who's 10-1, looking good off Dana White's Contender Series. Now, you guys know I try to be as unbiased as I possibly can be in these breakdowns, so I'll tell you both sides of the story. Chris Duncan has moved over to ATT. He is training with Dustin Poirier. He's getting good work, good coaches, good bodies. But I just have this guy marked as a fade. Like, ever since he got on Dana White's Contender Series, if you guys remember, this was the 1-round slobber-knocking barn burner against Charlie Campbell. So his first appearance on Dana White's Contender Series, he gets smoked by Slava Claus. He gets a win on the regional scene. They bring him back, and he is about to die against Charlie Campbell and just throws a Hail Mary right hand straight down the pipe and nukes this guy and puts him out cold. So he saves his own job in that spot, wins when he probably shouldn't have. Insane variance that he managed to come back in that spot. He's got power. I will give him that. He's got power. And then they give him his UFC debut against the absolute shell of Omar Morales. I mean, Omar Morales is nowhere near the guy he used to be, VB. That win means absolutely nothing to me in this day and age. In the year of our Lord 2023, if you beat Omar Morales in the last year or two, I'm really not overly impressed by it. But Chris Duncan does have power. He showed a good ability to level change when he wants to. His game plan looked like it was going in the right direction. But what I did notice is this guy's a brawler. You know that old saying, especially with grapplers, where it's like you're a black belt until you get punched in the face, then you're a brown belt, you get punched one more time, you're a purple belt. Like that's how it works with grapplers. They just kind of fall apart. The same can be said for brawlers. When you make them taste their own blood, they bite down on the mouthpiece and they swing. It's in them. It's built into them. They know no other way. And I think that's what's going to happen on Saturday with Chris Duncan. Sorry about that. Not to be confused with the Christian Duncan. Chris Duncan is going to come in here. He's going to look for some takedowns. He's going to have a decent game plan. But the first time Yanal Ashmouz cracks him, he's going to swing back. And I think that's when we get the brawl that I'm looking for here. I think he's going to have a hard time taking down Yanal Ashmouz. I think Yanal Ashmouz has the bigger chin. Frankly, I think he might hit harder. That may be, even. They probably hit roughly about the same. But I think I can trust Yanal Ashmouz to take one or two big shots, whereas I think if Chris Duncan gets hit with one or two big shots, he's going down. So I already loaded up. I got a 3-unit play on the underdog, Yanal Ashmouz. I like it. He's my guy. I'm going to ride him till the wheels fall off. Hopefully they don't fall off in his second UFC appearance. Just do me a favor and don't tell me you're on the other side, BB. How do you like this fight, man?
No, I'm not on the other side. So look, I was actually wrong about Ashmouz. I gotta admit, in the last fight, I was thinking Peterson was gonna sub him. To be honest, and then he came out and put him away the way he did. So this guy has power. His grappling is decent. I think I watched his PFL fight. He was kind of grappling exchanges there. He couldn't finish that guy, which I wish he did. But still, he won a decision there, unanimous. And Duncan is the kind of guy who always finds himself in trouble, man. Like every fight, he gets cracked or he's tired or he's wobbled or something. So it's like always with him. It's like it seems like every fight he's in is super volatile. It's crazy fights back to back. And the last fight, I bet him there, against Morales, and he actually wrestled, which I didn't even expect. I thought he was gonna probably strike with Morales, but he started to wrestle. So, I think this is like it's gonna come down to cardio. And even though people may disagree with me, I think Ashmouz has better cardio than Duncan does.
Agreed.
Like people may say, "Oh, he has like one decision win." Yeah, but I have seen this guy get finishes later too. So I don't think his cardio is completely terrible. Like he has round 3 finish, by TKO, round 3 finish by rear naked choke, round 2 finish by rear naked choke, and 2 other knockouts also in the second round. So he has a lot of finishes in the second and third round. So I don't think this guy's cardio is actually bad. But when Duncan fights the way he does, it's hard to trust him. You can't really trust this guy to bring a good game plan. It's always gonna be a crazy fight with this guy. So I'm gonna side with Ashmouz too. He's a dog now. I'm actually surprised he is. Like I took him at -105, like plus 110, right? So
he's plus 130 now, VB.
Yeah, it's moving up and up. Yeah, so I'm kind of surprised, but I guess bookies are not solo this guy even after his win. I don't know. That's what it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, guys, I'm not afraid to put more money on this guy. Like, let's see where this line goes, because everybody apparently seems to be piling in on the other side of it. And I've seen some people who I respect piling in on the other side of it. Quite frankly, I just think Duncan's a fraud. So I'm more than happy to stand my ground on this spot. And I think I've got the backup of enough good people like VB himself here to be confident in the fact that I like the dog side of things, and I'll take it as good as they can get it. Yeah, I'm with Seagoat here saying plus 130 is a gift.
Yeah, plus 130 is, I mean, I may add more as well. Like, I just I don't think people realize, like, Duncan was exhausted against Slava in the second round, and he got knocked out. He was super sloppy throwing those shots, like, and Slava timed him and knocked him out clean. Like, that's not a guy who, like, I think should be big favorite over Ashmouz. Ashmouz never even lost. So, like, this guy is a pretty good fighter, man. He can knock you out, he can submit you. His cardio seems to be okay. So, he should be a favorite minus 150, I think, in this fight,
I'm with you.
Maybe we're higher.
Completely agree. Hey, there's my guy right there, the Sports Keg. If you guys missed it, the Sunday bailout, my guy, the sharpest NASCAR mind in the game. He put 19 units in his listeners' pockets just this morning. They had a rain delay on Sunday, so we had morning NASCAR today. He absolutely destroyed that field. You guys check out my guy, Sports Keg, and he's going to be making his debut on the show 1 week from today. So you guys will actually get to see and hear from my guy Keg. He's not a half bad MMA capper, but the NASCAR stuff, that's his absolute specialty. I do have to rewind here just a minute, VB. If you'll excuse me for one moment, my guy Ethan Harvey betting me a shoey on Duncan versus Yanal. And Ethan, you got it. Now, you have been watching the show long enough to know I do Fireball, baby. So I'll take a shot of Fireball. You know what? I'll do two shots of Fireball if Ashmouz loses on Monday's podcast. And remind me, forgive me, Ethan, if you're on Twitter and you want to do a shoey for the other side of it, then you can go ahead and do that. Or I'll give you an out here. Or you change that profile pic to Yanal Ashmouz for 2 weeks, 1 week for each shot that I do. Up to you, my guy. Up to you, but I'll take that bet. All right, let's move right along, everybody. The next fight that we need to talk to you about here is going to be Bryan Barberena taking on Mahmoud Muradov. And Mahmoud Muradov's my guy, VB. I am so upset with how this guy's career trajectory has gone. I mean, he's 25-8. He's signed by Team Mayweather. There was a big to-do about the fact that he's the first and only MMA fighter to be on Team Money Mayweather. It was a huge deal when people were breaking down his stuff. And I'm just not... I'm struggling with the words. I do apologize, people. I'm going to get my shit together here real quick for you. Mahmoud Muradov should not have lost to Kyle Barallo. I had a bet on him in that fight. I bet him in every single UFC fight that he's had so far. He's been a money train. He got Gerald Mearsharded. Like, he had Mearshart hurt badly in that first round. And then Gerald does what Gerald does, manages to, wear him down, tap him out in the second round. It happens. He goes back to the drawing board, learns how to grapple a little bit, gets Kyle Barallo. And to this day, I look back at that fight, VB. I watched it before this breakdown here for you guys. I don't know how people scored it for Kyle. Round 1 was close, and Kyle probably won that round. But in rounds 2 and 3, it was relatively low volume with the bigger power shots coming from Mahmoud Muradov. And every time they got into a grappling exchange, Mahmoud Muradov reversed position and got on top of Kyle. So he was the one controlling the fight. He was the one on top of his opponent. I am not sure how anybody scored that fight for Kyle Barallo. It's baffling to me that he lost that fight in hindsight. The UFC has tried to match this guy up with Abus Magomedov twice, which makes you wonder a little bit because they just threw him to Sean Strickland. It felt like maybe they were trying to push that guy, so I'm not sure how they feel at this point about Mahmoud Muradov, but this is a get-right spot. Bryan Barberena is a guy who has been an absolute warrior. He says no to nobody. He will take any fight in the UFC, just wants to get in there and bang. He's 34 years old, though, and he's starting to wear it. I know he's only got 2 KO losses, but it seems like he's wobbled and rocked in damn near every fight that he's in. And frankly, he's barely skating by pretty terrible competition. Anthony Ivy, Darian Weeks, split over Matt Brown. Yeah, he punched Robbie Lawler out of there, and that was kind of his moment in the sun. But since then, he's been absolutely handled by RDA and Gunnar Nelson. I think Mahmoud Muradov gets right on Saturday in this spot, and I think he does it pretty much any way he wants to. I know that you're going to have more volume coming from the Bryan Barberena side if this is a striking matchup. However, I think you're going to have the cleaner and more powerful shots coming from Mahmoud. I think he can knock Bryan Barberena out. And frankly, with his newfound grappling prowess, I think Mahmoud Muradov can take Bryan Barberena down and just have a pretty simple and easy path to victory if he decides to go that way. I think the price is justified. You've got minus 275, minus 300 on Mahmoud Muradov, plus 240 to come back on Bryan Barberena. Every dog has his day, but I think Bryan had his and it's passed. So I'm on the favorite here, VB. I think he's a decent parlay piece. What do you think?
Yeah, so this fight like is actually at middleweight, Clint. If you noticed, which is I think I don't know what that's about. I think Barberena is even at 170 not the biggest guy, and now Barberena is moving up at 185. Like that's a red flag in my opinion. This guy, as you said, takes any fight against anybody. He fights you on 2 days' notice. Doesn't matter. Just wants to fight. But at some point, that's gonna wear on you. And we have seen him kind of slow down. To be honest, he was losing to Robbie Lawler before he got him out of there. I think he actually lost to Matt Brown. He got the decision, but I think he lost that fight.
I agree.
RDA absolutely handled him. He like levels difference on the ground. Gunnar Nelson, I mean, same
I
thing.
thought he lost the Weeks fight, VB. I thought that decision was pretty rough too. I thought you could make an argument for Darian Weeks.
Yeah, close fight too. I agree. And then before that, he loses to Jason Witt, so that's not a good look either. So, I mean, he's been fighting very low level competition, and he basically didn't dominate any of them. Like, Ivy fight, I thought he was gonna finish him. He couldn't. He loses to Witt. Weeks close. I think he lost to Brown. So, always a close fight. Always a war. He gets hit a lot. He gets dropped a lot. Even Witt dropped him. Matt Brown like put it on him early too. So I think at this point, man, I can't really trust this guy. Like, to be honest, at 185 now, that seems like some kind of issue with him. Maybe he's injured or something and can't cut weight anymore. We saw what happened to him a few years ago with his health problems. So I think Mahmoud is gonna actually stop this guy. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually stops him in the first round. So I'm gonna take Mahmoud here. I mean, as far as money line goes, I personally won't touch it because minus 350 seems fair. But if you want to take Mahmoud ITD, I think that's the way to go in this fight.
Okay. Glad we agree on that one, VB. Like I said, I think I might play it safe just because he's been obviously working on his wrestling. I think he can finish. I think he should finish. But I think he's a very valid parlay piece. I struggle to find a path to victory for Bryan Barberena. So, yeah, definitely Mahmoud. And I know he's kind of getting mushed. Everybody on Twitter is adding him to every parlay. And I'm sorry. Like, usually I try to be the voice of reason. I try to caution people. Don't parlay that guy. Can't do it this week. Parlay the shit out of him. I think he rolls.
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right, let's go. All right, everybody. We're moving right along. We got 185 live viewers. Thank you all so much for joining us here on the Die Hard MMA podcast. My guy VB is joining us to break down these fights here. UFC London. Smash the like button for me if you haven't already. And the next fight that we're going to break down here for you for your entertainment is Mick Parkin taking on Jamal Pogues. And I've already got a bet for this one as well, VP. I've already got a bet for this one. I absolutely think Jamal Pogues is a fraud. I'm going to just go ahead and put the chips on the table. I'm going to throw it all out there that way. I think Pogues is an absolute fraud. This guy, so we mentioned a previous fighter who had 2 stints on the Dana White's Contender Series, and I think that's a bad look. Like, I have yet to identify a fighter who had 2 stints on the Contender Series and then it turned into like a positive good thing. They seem to struggle more than even most Dana White's Contender Series fighters do in the UFC once they get up here. And I just don't think it's a very good sign for future success. We'll see if that holds true. I'm going to watch very closely, but we'll see if that prediction is accurate or not. Jamal Pogues, 10-3. And the reason I think this guy is so fraudulent is he's a natural 205-pound fighter. That's where he fought the majority of his career. He took a long layoff. was massively out of shape, way overweight, and comes into Dana White's Contender Series at 265. You know what? 205 and 265, they're pretty thin. We've seen some people bounce back and forth between those two weight classes. Marcos Rogério de Lima, we'll talk about him in a week or so, and he's a good example of people that have done that kind of thing. So no big deal, right? His opponent comes in and is a natural 170-pounder, VB. This guy was a 170-pound fighter who is taking a last-second ditch effort fight on Dana White's Contender Series at 265. And that's the guy Pogues wins to get into the UFC and gets his contract. It was an awful showing. He has some decent offensive wrestling. He was able to take Josh Parisian down, who has maybe the worst takedown defense rating in the UFC's heavyweight division. He did next to no damage in that fight. He's got a good jab. I will give credit where it's due. Jamal Pogues has a great jab, but that is the absolute best part of his game, and frankly, the only part of his game that I even like. I don't think he can take anybody down at the heavyweight division that isn't named Josh Parisian. Now, his opponent here, McParkin, coming in 6-0, undefeated, also off the Contender Series. This guy was in a big old slobber knocker in his Dana White's Contender Series fight, and he took a big shot. Like, he got chin checked big time in that fight, forced the guy to wrestle, forced the guy to carry his weight, got on his back, and tapped him out. I mean, he showed the ability to come back from being hurt against a full-fledged heavyweight puncher and then managed to control himself, managed to get his game going, and all the things he did in the grappling were the things that I feel like Jamal Pogues is missing. I think Parkins is a much better cage grappler than his opponent Pogues here in this spot. He's a big, heavy dude. He's a real heavyweight frame-wise, and he is training with Philip DeFries, who's the current KSW champion. So, like, you look at this guy's Instagram and you're like, who's this fat dude that he's working with? Yeah, no, that's Phil DeFries. Like, that's an actual champion in another organization. So it's not some scrub that he's working with. He does only have 6 fights. I worry about the experience, but he'll have a 2-inch reach advantage. I like who he's working with. And frankly, I just want to do everything I can to be on the other side of Pogues and make money fading this guy, because I do not think he's very good. I think he's in the wrong weight class. And I think Parkin is better than him essentially everywhere. I think Parkin hits harder. I think he wrestles better. And I think that's all you need in this spot. So give me Parkin in England as a plus 130 underdog. That's where I'm at. What do you like?
Man, I was already on Parkin, and like, these line movements don't make sense. Like, to be honest, like, I don't know what people are seeing in these couple of guys that they're smashing this line, and same with Pogues. Honestly, I bet against Parisian because, like, you bet anybody against Parisian basically if it's not Alan Bodo, but you take, like, this guy Jamal Pogues. Don't forget he started his career as a middleweight. He's not a real heavyweight. Parkin is a big guy, man. He's a real heavyweight. He is very hard, and I think he trains with, like, one of the best heavyweights in the world, Philip DeFries, man. Philip DeFries is disgusting wrestling, man. That guy, if you watch his last fight, his wrestling is something else. I mean, I think they call him wrestling Satan or something. So that guy is a problem. But if you look at Pogues, like, this is the guy that the UFC would bring in London to lose to Mick Parkin. You know what I mean? Okay, Josh Parisian was supposed to fight last week, so he was kind of busy. Who else can come to London and lose to Mick Parkin? That's gotta be Jamal Pogues. You know what I mean? So that's what I think. I think this is a setup fight for Parkin. I think he knocks him out. I really do. I think he's gonna stop him, man. He's either gonna knock him out or he's gonna just hurt him and sub him, club and sub kind of situation. So I'm gonna take Parkin here. I'm gonna actually add more after I'm done here.
Nice.
I'm gonna be 2 units on him, I think.
Love hearing that. Love hearing that. So, folks, just so you know, it is VB's first time here on the show, but we hooked up this year, and since VB and I have been chatting, when we do not communicate, but we come to the same side, we've been hitting like madmen this year. Both of us having a good year. Both of us on the same page without communicating prior seems to be a ticket for success. So the fact that he's doubling down here on a guy that I've got a 2-unit play on as an underdog, I like this spot. Do with that information what you will. Everybody always gamble responsibly. Don't risk any more than you're, able to. You're grown-ups here, big boys and girls. But just so you know, seems to be a profitable angle here so far in 2023.
Oh yeah, bro. When we align, it's always a good sign. And I gotta remind people, don't mess with 2023 Clint, man. This is the new guy right here. So those trolls in comments, oh, you took Chelsea Chandler. I wish I took Chelsea Chandler instead of Dumont and made 9 units. I don't care. You can still make a few bad bets, and at the end of the day, if you make 9 units, you can learn from them and be better. So come on, man. Be better.
The silence is deafening, VP. The haters kind of folded up shop and left the show 4 months ago. At this point, they haven't been heard from in quite some time.
Yep.
And let's see here. Best UFC picks and bets in the chat saying Pogues underperformed in his debut. I got to tell you, my guy, Pogues has underperformed in every single fight he's ever had. Like, he's just not that good. I'm sorry. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. I'm always open to the fact that I might just be wrong. But I just don't think he's that good, and that's why he's underperforming. So we'll find out on Saturday. Uncle Weezy, my guy in the house. What's good, buddy? Thank you very much for joining the show. All right, everybody. We are moving this thing right along. We have got none other than Marc Diakiese, the Bone Crusher, taking on Yoel Alvarez. And you guys know I'm a fan of Yoel. You guys know I'm a fan of, it's like they gave the super serum here to my guy Brandon Moreno, and that's how you get Yoel Alvarez. This guy's huge. He's a Jalen Turner style weight bully. In fact, I'm kind of surprised he's fighting Marc Diakiese in this spot, VB. I've got a hard time seeing how this guy continues to make weight and get his body down to this weight class. This is super tough. The Bone Crusher, D1 Diakiese sold me, man. D1 Diakiese had me all in. I bought in on this guy. I was ready to ride him to the bank because once he started wrestling, once he, put that striking on the back burner and took people down, he just seemed absolutely unstoppable. And then he goes in there against Michael Johnson. And I know Michael Johnson has like notoriously great takedown defense, but he didn't even try. Like, this man seems like a bit of a head case. He didn't even give himself an option to win that fight. He was out of it and in defensive mode from the jump. And I think back to after absolutely destroying Slava Claus and Damir Hadzovic, he gets an in-cage interview with Michael Bisping, one of my favorite fighters of all time. And Bisping goes, "Why did you not go for a finish?" And I'm sitting here with a 10-1 Marc Diakiese by sub in my pocket. And sure enough, this guy just lays on top of Damir Hadzovic for 15 minutes, never even makes an effort to move towards a finish. And he goes, Mike, just let me get on a win streak and then I'll open up more. Just let me get on a win streak and I'll open up. And in his next fight against Johnson, he does fuck all. He does absolutely nothing to give himself even a chance to win that fight. Honestly, VB, I'm kind of putting Marc Diakiese in the head case bin here. I think he's a guy that has mental issues and hurdles. And again, you guys know me, nothing but respect for these fighters. They do something I could never do, and Diakiese could destroy me and rip me apart in any way he wanted to. But when it comes to betting, when it comes to putting our money on these fighters, you've got to know if something like that is taking place. And Diakiese does not strike me as a guy who's going out there to fight for your money. He's kind of a bully at this point, a good hammer and a bad nail. He will set up shop and defend himself and survive rather than going in there and fighting to win if he doesn't feel that he's got that path to victory. Now, Yoel Alvarez, I talked about how big he is. I talked about his size. This guy's kicking game is nasty. He's gigantic. He's got massive legs, and he kicks really well from range. But he has a literal 0% takedown defense rating. I'm not kidding. Look it up. Go check the UFC stats. 0% takedown defense. He has never defended a takedown under the UFC banner. But that's because he's such a slick jiu-jitsu fighter. This guy looks to sweep. He looks to submit. He's massive, so he can just kind of muscle you into spots where the technique normally wouldn't maybe cut it, but he can, yank your arm out of its socket because he's bigger and stronger than you after he fills back up from the tough weight cut on his back. He doesn't mind being down there on the ground, so go ahead, take me down. I think that's kind of the fight that we're going to get here, VB. I think that Marc Diakiese is going to be kept at range. He's not going to be able to get his kicking going because he's going up against a much taller, longer kicker. Alvarez advantage on the feet. And then if he decides to go ahead and get in there and wrestle, I expect Diakiese to try and land some takedowns. I don't know that he can hang with this guy on the mat. I mean, Diakiese has been subbed twice already in his professional career. And at this point, I kind of think we've seen the best of him. So I like Alvarez. What do you like in this spot, VP?
Yeah, man. It looks like we're gonna go 15-15 on the spots we like.
We're just gonna agree the whole card.
Like what's going on, but I mean, look, I really like Yoel Alvarez, man. I think his takedown defense is non-existent, but still, like if he gets taken down, it's not gonna be Slava Close laying on his back. It's not gonna be Damir Hazovic trying to get up and do nothing. It's gonna be triangles. It's gonna be arm bars. It's gonna be guillotines. This guy is not gonna stop until he gets the submission. We saw that Arman was able to kind of get out of those positions, and just put a beating on him. But Arman is a guy who I think is one of the best lightweights in the world, and he's ranked top 10. I don't think you can even compare Arman's grappling to Diakiese's grappling. It's not even the same stratosphere. It's like black and white. So I just think Diakiese mentally he's kind of gone. Michael Johnson fight. I bet Johnson as a dog there. I was happy to cash, and I'm gonna take Yoel Alvarez here. It's probably one of my most confident picks on the card. I think this fight is gonna look like a lot like Rafael Alves fight. To be honest, I think Diakiese is gonna eat a big shot. He's gonna go for a sloppy takedown and gets guillotined, or he can just get knocked out. To be honest, man, I think that Alvarez is a better striker than this guy. People may disagree, but look, man, Alvarez is one of the biggest lightweights I've ever seen. Period. He's 6'3". He has huge reach advantage in this fight. This guy should be at middleweight or something. This guy is huge. I don't know how he makes. I mean, he can't make 155. That's the he misses weight a lot. That's why he can't make 155 a lot, because this guy is massive, man. It's crazy how big this guy is. So look at the face-off and just, I mean, physicality is gonna be huge in this fight, and I think even though Yoel doesn't have a good real takedown defense from his back, this guy is really dangerous. And that's if even Diakiese wrestles. Like in Johnson fight, he didn't even wrestle. So I can see many scenarios where Yoel gets on his back, or he is on top in a scramble or something like that, because his jiu-jitsu is damn good. So I'm taking Yoel here, man. This guy is massive lightweight. I don't think how long he's gonna keep fighting at this weight class, but I think he's gonna put Diakiese away early. I really do. This is gonna look like Alves fight. I think. I could be wrong. You can make fun of me, but that's my take. I just think Diakiese is gonna be out of there in round 1.
Definitely not making fun of you here, man. Completely agree. I think Alvarez is an absolute beast. And I think he's going to make this a very, very tough night on home soil against the Bone Crusher. And hey, Narrative Nation, everyone wants to talk about, the hometown crowd. People, they're setting up these English fighters to do well and stuff like that. Folks, I'm going to go back to the example. They put a freaking UFC legend, Diego Sanchez, in his backyard in New Mexico, and they tried to sacrifice him to Michel Pereira. Like, that happened. So just because they're fighting at home on a big card in their territory doesn't necessarily mean the UFC is pushing that guy. I really think they're trying to get a half decent name here on Alvarez's record, and I think they're trying to get him a bounce back spot because he reached a little too close to the sun in his last fight when he took that option against Arman Tsarukyan. Let's get the kid back on track. This is really what it feels like here to me. So I like the spot. Got in earlier in the week. He's minus 185 now. I think the minus 185, minus 200 range is probably a little bit more appropriate. God bless you, Diakiese backers. Good luck. If he can hold this man down for 15 minutes and just sit on top of him and still win a decision, I kind of think that's his only path. So might as well look to take him by decision if you're going to do anything with it.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think it's like decision or kind of bust. This is not Slava Close, who's gonna lay on his back and doesn't know what he's doing, kind of,
Exactly.
So people, I think, are missing the point that Alvarez is never gonna make him feel safe ever. He's always gonna go for submissions, and Diakiese is gonna be struggling there, I think. So
absolutely. Completely agree. I like it, man. Let's do it. All right, folks, real quick here. We got to pay some bills. First off, shout out to our main sponsor here, the host of the Die Hard MMA podcast, Pub Sports Radio. Make sure you check out pubsportsradio.com. We've got all our merch here. We put the picks and the plays up here. You can also find archives to the videos and things of that nature. And we do a weekly free UFC contest. And this week we had a 3-way tie here for first place. It's a pick 'em. Pick your fighter, pick your round, pick your method, and winner gets a free $100 on Pub Sports Radio. So why not come join for free? Get involved. It's fun. Next up, we have got Spectation Sports. I just had a meeting with them here today. Cage Titans has an event coming up on Saturday, and it's awesome. You may recognize a couple of these names on here. Jay Perrin makes his return. Don Shanis makes his return. They are notorious for putting on awesome regional MMA shows, and you can watch those all on Spectation Sports. Use promo code DIEHARD for 20% off. You can find a lot of regional gyms before they make it to the Contender Series and the UFC by watching on Spectation Sports. So it helps out us gamblers in a big way. Next up, the Sharp app. If you guys want, reads, models, stats, numbers on all the other sports out there, NFL is right around the corner. That's what the Sharp app is going to do for you. They've got free articles. They've got an awesome kick-ass Discord where they've got professional gamblers who are putting their picks and information in there for you. Make sure you join that Discord. I will have a link to that for you. And then last but certainly not least, our new sponsor here, betopenly.com. I got to tell you guys, I had a comment last week on the YouTube channel where someone actually said, do people actually use Bet Openly? I don't see the point. Please listen to me on this, you guys. Please listen to me on this. We all needed Bet Openly, and I didn't realize how much until I discovered them. They're charging 1% juice on all bets. 1%. The house, any book you play at, charges 10% juice. That's why lines are minus 110, and the bookies don't care because they are making their money by scraping off that difference at the 10%. Bet Openly only charges 1%, allowing us to have better lines on literally everything. Let me show you here. So they don't have any, damn it. And there we go. MMA. Here we go. Check this out. So what we have, let's pick a spot, shall we? Let's see a fighter that I like. Yanal Ashmouz. Plus 140 on Bet Openly because of that 1% juice. You know what he is on DraftKings, for example? Yanal Ashmouz. Okay, fine then. Why are you not? There we go. Plus 130. So he's 10 cents better on that platform. What about BetMGM? Another very popular site, one that I use myself. Where is our guy, Yanal Ashmouz? Let's go ahead and try this same little trick here. Yanal. Okay, why does that not work? Ashmouz. Okay, they're not letting me bring it up. He's plus 130 on here as well. I saw it earlier. There it is right there. Boom, plus 130. So basically, if you're using Bet Openly, peer-to-peer betting, if somebody else very naturally comes to the conclusion that they like Chris Duncan on the other side of this fight, you both put your money up and everybody gets better numbers. The best part is it works both ways. So if you like Chris Duncan, you are also going to get a better number on Chris Duncan. Let's go ahead and find him here. Plus 140, minus 140. Nobody's getting charged juice. You can only get minus 155 on Chris Duncan right now. That right there is the power of Bet Openly. So the more of us that are on here, the better. I'm going to have a link for you guys here in the description of the show. Please check it out. Click the link for me if you would. That helps me out. That helps drive traffic. But quite frankly, if you're a semi-serious gambler, you want to be on Bet Openly because long-term, it is going to save you money. That's the whole point of betopenly.com. It's like, if you think about like Uber or Airbnb, how they put the power in the control of the consumers and took those giant fees out of the people, that's literally what they're doing to the betting industry. We like Bet Openly. They like gamblers. We all want to be on Bet Openly. I'm going to get that link for you. I'm going to go ahead and stick it into the chat here in just a second. And if you guys could, at the very minimum, do me a favor and click the link. Go check the site out. That's all I'm asking. If you like what I'm saying, deposit, get on there, play. You'll learn to love it, but at least click that link for me. Just do me that much of a favor, please. All right, let's get back to these breakdowns. The next fight that we're going to go ahead and talk to you about is Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts. He is taking on Johnny Parsons. And you guys, I'm just kind of over the Danny Hot Chocolates situation here. BB, I've talked about the year of our Lord 2023, and I have talked about how I believe it's the year of the changing guard. We've seen it. We saw it in the main event just last Saturday. These fighters coming in here that are older, that are a little long in the tooth, the wear and tear, it's just getting to them. We're seeing a big turnover right now in the UFC. Danny Roberts is 18-7. He's 2-4 in his last 6. And in my opinion, not to take anything away from him, he's always been kind of middle of the road. He's very good. He's decent at everything, but he's not spectacular anywhere. He's one of those fighters. He's a bit of a journeyman, and that's okay. He's had a good run. He's had a good career. He'll do just fine in the UFC with that, but the time has come. His durability appears to be slipping. He's having a bit of trouble tanking the damage, compared to how he used to. He's got 4 losses by knockout on his record. He will be much, much larger in this spot, though, and that's the one thing that kind of worries me here just a little bit about Mr. Johnny Parsons. Danny Roberts is going to have a 5-inch reach advantage, and he's going to be 4 inches taller. Parsons won a split decision on Dana White's Contender Series. He did win that fight over Solomon Renfro, who was a hyped-up prospect. I mean, people were so high on Solomon Renfro. This guy comes in, skates on by him, squeezes by with a split decision. He's got a nasty kicking game on him. Absolutely destroys people with big, big body kicks. He keeps a very measured pace, but the one thing that we saw in that Dana White's Contender Series fight is he's incredibly durable. I'm not sure if I really am sold on this kid. I'll be honest with you, VB. I don't think I can lay a price on hot chocolate at this stage of my career in the year of our Lord 2023. I'm not buying on Danny Roberts. So I think I have to pass on this fight. But if this turns into a brawl, I think Parsons is going to hold up better than Roberts will. However, if Roberts comes in with a very tactical game plan and takes it to the ground, then I think he's got a wrestling advantage, and maybe that's his path here to victory. I'm going to kind of lean with Johnny Parsons KO, but that's I don't know if I'm playing anything on this one, VB. I'm a little nervous about this particular result. What do you think of this fight?
Yeah, this seems to be a fight where people just don't have a good read on it, and I can see why. It's like very tough fight to break down. Like Parsons is kind of inactive. Where is he after this layoff? His best win is Solomon Renfro in a uber close fight, so it's like that's his best win. If you look at Danny Roberts, he has a couple good wins. Like Imiev is a good win, but overall, like you don't see anybody who is like super high level on his record either. I think only time I bet on Danny Roberts was against David Zawada. That was like a few years ago. Only time I bet on him. Last couple of fights I faded him. So he's been making money. We don't lose. And I think in this fight though, like I think I'm gonna go with him in this spot because I think 5-inch reach advantage is gonna play a big factor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also like in England, crowd going crazy in a close fight, judges may be on this guy's side. This guy needs a win bad. If he loses this fight, this could be over for him, especially if he loses by knockout or submission. So I think I'm gonna go with Danny. I think to get this win in a close fight at plus 105, I have a guy with reach advantage and with a lot more UFC experience. And on the other side, we have a guy who won a questionable decision over a guy who doesn't even seem to be that good, So that's the thing. Like Danny Roberts, he's losing to people like JDM and Trinaldo and Michel Pereira, but those guys will destroy Johnny Parsons in my opinion as well. So I'm gonna take Danny Roberts here in a close fight. Not big, but I think I'm gonna bet on him. So let's give me hot chocolate.
Okay. All right, hot chocolate for VB, and we got a pick 'em price tag on this one, or close to it. It looks like minus 105 on Danny Roberts, minus 115 on Johnny Parsons. And I mean, you guys know me, Dana White Contender Series fade, right? Like this kid comes in favored over someone with UFC caliber experience. That's when I should be loading up against them. That head kick, man, that head kick worries me. That's the one thing.
Me, bro. You gotta join.
What was that?
You gotta join. You gotta join. Keep the fade going.
I think this is the first time we've disagreed on the entire show. So
okay,
maybe I should just come over to your side to make sure we keep it together here for the kids.
Yep.
All right. Next up, we have got a very, very interesting fight here. My guy, Davey Grant, returns. You guys know I'm a sucker for Davey Grant. BB, I talked about this just a couple weeks ago. I don't know what it is. These mangy old dogs, man. These fighters that are kind of mid of the road, but they're okay, but they're tough as nails and they'll fight for your money. I love fighters like that. I absolutely love fighters like that. And I want to just root for them. You know, they're always the underdog and maybe not on the betting line, but like they're underdog stories. They're fun people. Those are always the fighters that get me. And Davey Grant's one of my guys. I love me some Davey Grant. 13-6. He's all heart. He comes forward and wings those big old power hooks, and you've got to kill this guy to get him out of there. I mean, I will never forget. It was the Chito Vera fight where he looked like his face had been through a blender and he still was just marching forward in the third round throwing hooks. I love this guy. Now, it's funny because I was so wrong. I was beyond wrong in his last fight. The Rafael Assunção spot, I talked about, I felt like he was going to lay Assunção to rest. You know, the whole changing of the guard thing, even though Assunção in his prime would just destroy Davey Grant, not anymore. But I said, never by sub. So you can bet on anything in this fight. Davey Grant is never submitting Rafael Assunção. What does he do? He goes out there, throws up an inverted triangle choke in the third round and taps Assunção. I could not believe that result. I actually remember because I was literally at the zoo with my family. I'm watching on my phone while my daughter wanted to go see the Tigers. And I just screamed because I was so floored by that comeback. My wife was really upset with me. She was like, people think we're crazy. I'm like, I'm sorry. You have no idea what just happened. You wouldn't understand. Now, his opponent, Daniel Marcos, he's another Dana White's Contender Series kid, but he's a different breed. 14-0, very well experienced, undefeated, 1-0 off the Contender Series. Big body shot won him that fight. Really impressive UFC debut. Good movement, good footwork, fast kicks. This guy's got really, really fast kicks. He picks his shots really well. It's a bit of a pot shotty type of offense, power, well-chosen offense from Daniel Marcos. I'm very impressed with him. I think he belongs in the UFC, and frankly, he's one of these guys that probably would have gotten here very naturally some time ago. I think he had like a 3-year layoff prior to his Contender Series fight, so he probably would have been signed by the UFC non-contender if he had been active. Instead, he gets that shot. Now he's here. I think this kid is the goods. I think he's for real. The one thing I worry just a little bit about with Daniel Marcos is he drops his hands. When he gets his opponents hurt, when he flurries up against the cage, he does leave himself a little bit open to be countered when he gets aggressive the way that he does. But he's 30 years old. He's in his prime. And I've got a feeling this is going to be one of those fights, VB, that has no right whatsoever going the distance. But if you bet an over, you'll be clinching your butthole the entire time and probably cash a ticket. I think these guys are going to beat the hell out of each other for 15 straight minutes. I think we're going to have a very close, competitive fight. I can't bet against my guy, Davey Grant, but at the same time, I want no part of going against Daniel Marcos in this spot either. We've got Marcos a minus 140 favorite, plus 115 on Davey Grant. And I really could see avenues to victory for both of these guys. So I'm going to lay off. This is a coin that I simply don't need to flip. I feel so sad. I'm going to pick against Davey Grant. I'm going to pick Daniel Marcos to win a decision. I want to look at the numbers when the overs come out, VB. If they give me a half decent 2.5, I might just take an over here in this spot. What do you like?
Wow. I mean, this fight is coin flip, like you said it, man. Marcos impressed me in his last fight. I thought that was really good performance over Simon Oliveira. I actually bet Oliveira in that fight. It was a pretty bad bet. As far as Davey Grant goes, man, I love the guy too. He has one of the best chins in the UFC. Like, this guy gets hit by anything and he's gonna take it. He never really quits. You gotta put him to sleep to get this guy out of there. So I like Davey Grant. I bet him by submission in his last fight, and there was some good variance, you know.
You did not bet him by submission.
I did.
Oh my God.
It was one of the craziest wins I've ever probably got. But yeah, man, I think this fight is gonna be close. In my opinion, if you're betting Marcos, just take him by decision. I don't see this guy knocking Davey out in this spot. Davey's head is made of granite, you know, so he's gonna take all those shots, and Marcos is probably gonna win kind of close fights. But David Grant's chin is not going anywhere. Even at 37, I think he's gonna, keep being legendary. So I think Marcos, if you're betting his side, take him by decision plus 200. I think that's solid look, even though it seems kind of short number. I don't think this guy is gonna stop David Grant. To be honest, David Grant is too tough. So I'm gonna take him in this fight. I'm gonna pick Marcos, but I'm not gonna bet him. I think line is about accurate right now. It's minus 130, 140. I think that's right. David Grant is always live. So if you're betting Grant, maybe take him by KO, and if you're betting Marcos, take him by decision. But as far as pick goes, I would lean Marcos a little bit.
All right. You and I are very, very much on the same page here, VP. We really are, because the way that guy drops his hands, I could see one of those big old hooks from Davey Grant finding its way home. I think he's tough enough to take it. I really do. I think Marcos is another one of these guys that's just built differently, and I don't know that he's going to get cracked and go down hard. But I'm very much looking forward to this fight, and I'm not betting it. Let me be clear. I've told you guys this before. If I pick a fight, but I'm not putting my hard-earned money on that pick, I am not confident at all in that. So, I reserve the right to change my mind about this one. My money's going nowhere near this fight. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to be very entertained watching this one. I can't wait for this fight. It should be an absolute barn burner, fight of the night potential here on this one, in my opinion. My money's going nowhere near it unless I'm betting that butthole puckering over, which worked out very well last week, I might add, VP. Well, I think maybe one of my sharpest reads ever last week when I bet the over 1.5 on the Jack Della Maddalena fight at a big plus number. That worked out pretty well.
Beautiful call, yeah, for real. That was a good spot, man.
Thank you. And my guy Blood Money bets here in the chat. I think Marcos's look so good because his opponents were 5'4" grapplers. Grant's bigger, way more well-rounded. All the grappling upside is on Grant also. Fair point. Fair point. If you guys don't know Blood Money, another very sharp voice, another very awesome follow on Twitter. Make sure you check him out as well. I like it. Good luck to everybody betting on this one. My money's not going to be seeing it. All right. Next up, we've got Lauren Murphy. And you know what? I'm sorry. It's Lerone Murphy. But VP, it's weird. I kind of think of myself, especially with my love for Jillian Robertson, as an honorary Canadian. But looking through this card, maybe I'm an honorary Londoner. Maybe I should move to England because I love a lot of these English fighters. I didn't really put 2 and 2 together that's where all these boys are coming from. But apparently, I'm a London fanboy. I like Lerone Murphy. This guy is tough as nails. He is so physically strong. That's his biggest advantage in every single fight is that he's just massively muscly. And I kind of almost put him in the Yoel Romero category where he explodes and then needs a minute to reload, except he never has to reload. He's got to be on just the best EPO out there because this guy keeps a high pace, a high volume, and I don't know how he does it throwing the giant power shots that he does constantly. Lerone Murphy is 12-0-1, and if you all remember, he got the shine taken off of him by Gabriel Santos in that last fight. Huge favorite, barely snuck by with a split on that one. I think, wasn't it a draw in the end, or did he actually end up getting the split win? I got to double check that. I can't remember.
He won the decision.
Okay, he got the split decision on that one. I couldn't remember where that draw came from. All of a sudden, it left me. That was Zubaira.
Yeah.
Zubaira back in the day is where he got the draw. So, yeah, he squeezes by, and now the shine has kind of come off him just a little bit, but I still like everything about his game except his takedown defense. He's got a 43% takedown defense. However, he makes up for that with a very urgent get-up game. This guy knows his bread and butter is on the feet. This guy knows his win condition is on the feet. He can hurt anybody with that big, athletic, explosive power. But he just doesn't seem to know how to defend a double leg. However, he's too strong for you to hold him down. He has no problem working his way back up to his feet. And that's kind of a Jamal Hill thing that I talked about before, where it's not that bad to have an awful takedown defense as long as you know how to get up. So, he'll get scored against him with takedowns, and that's not great, but you can always count on him to work his way back up. His opponent, Josh Kulibau, maybe one of the most underrated fighters on the roster at this point. 11-1-1. He's on a 3-fight win streak. We talked about him last week because of the Melsik-Bexarian fight. This guy, he knows how to steal victory when he gets his window. He's more than willing to sell out to get that win. His only loss was by TKO to Jalen freaking Turner. And I do want to make sure people remember this. BB, that was a fight where he made his UFC debut against the biggest weight bully in the division. And not only did he not get truly knocked out, he got back mounted, flattened out, and then pounded. The referee saved him. He popped up immediately. Like, this guy is maybe one of the most durable fighters we've ever seen. He's never rocked. He's never hurt. He just tanks whatever damage you throw his way and keeps on walking forward. He can get busted up and bloodied up, but it just never seems to phase him. He's got an absolute piston of a right hand. He's got such fast hands. This is going to be a very intriguing fight. I think he's going to try to play the matador a little bit as Murphy kind of crashes in looking for those big power shots. He'll look for his counters. I just have seen Murphy also be insanely durable. This is another spot where we're going to get a brawl, and I'm not entirely certain that either of these guys are going to get finished. Both of them have more than enough KO power, but both of them are absolutely tough as nails. And normally speaking, I would want to buy low in this kind of a spot on Lerone Murphy. He's about a minus 155 favorite. You can get plus 130 on Joshua Kalibau. But damn, like, I can't keep underestimating Joshua Kalibau with the rest of the MMA world. Like, he just keeps on showing up and winning. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he outvolumes Lerone Murphy here. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he hits him with a couple of big right hands and wins on those big spectacular moments. I'm not sure there's going to be all that much grappling here in this fight. It's another fight that, frankly, I just feel there's better spots on this card. I'm going to watch and take notes on this one. I think I'll pick Lerone Murphy to squeeze by again at home. Maybe some hometown cooking. Maybe the judges help him out. But I think Joshua Kalibau is more than worth your money if you want to take a stab at him at this spot. I'm not betting it. I'll pick Murphy. Pass for me. VB, what do you like?
Yeah, this is one of the closest fights, I think, on the card, because I really think this fight's going over, I really do. The reason I remember the Lerone Murphy decision, because I bet him in that fight, and I'm not sure I deserve to win that ticket, but I got it anyway. But like, Kalibau, like, is a guy I don't really have a read on, to be honest. Like, in his last fight, I thought it was for sure over. These guys are both strikers. They're gonna stand there, exchange for 3 rounds, sparring pace.
Mm-hmm.
It was going like that, and then Kalibau subs him by rear naked choke all of a sudden, which I didn't really see coming at all. So I don't know, man. It's a close fight. I think Lerone Murphy's luck maybe, may run out in this spot. I don't know, man. He was losing to Mark 1, lands a, Hail Mary knee, kind of like, you know what I mean? He was getting wrestled. Mm-hmm. Second round, times a beautiful knee. It was a good knee, but still, like, he was losing that fight. Gabriel Santos fight, I think he lost. Zubaida fight also, I think he lost, to be honest. It was a draw. So how many, like, this close, comparative fights can he get by? I don't know. Kalibau may bring a good game plan here. He may use his jab. They're going to be jabbing each other a lot, I think, both of them. The reach advantage is, I think on Murphy a little bit. They're small, like half inch, I think. But overall, it's going to be comparative striking fights. And I'm going to take Kalibau, I think, in this spot. It's a dog. Whoever is like plus 130 in this kind of 50-50 fights, that's you want to have, right? And I don't think Murphy's going to win a split decision. It's possible, but I think Kalibau is probably going to win round 2 and 3, So I'll take him here by decision.
All right. I don't mind it, VB. I feel like anybody with a half decent argument could sell me on both sides of this fight, quite frankly. Our guy in the house, MMA Locker Room, one of the personalities here at Pub Sports Radio, our interviewer, our resident expert, says it's Murphy's birthday on Saturday. No way he loses on his birthday. Might just be lock of the century. There you go. I like that. Activate asking Murphy decisions, or can he get the finish? Activate, I'll be honest with you. Man, if Jalen Turner can't finish this guy, I don't know who's gonna. You know what I mean? I think that Murphy is more than capable of finishing almost anybody in this division. He is so freaking athletic. He hits like a truck, and he's fast. I don't think you can finish Joshua Kalibau. I've seen him take everything. I think you could eat a baseball bat across the chin and be just fine. So, like, I would look over, and I would look decision in this spot as well. I think the total might be your friend in this spot. Sean with a good point. They are in London. Murphy probably gets close decisions, and that's kind of why I'm staying away from this one, VB. I feel that. I think Kalibo is going to have to win cleanly. Otherwise, the hometown cooking, we've seen it in London. It's pretty bad sometimes.
Listen, if it's hometown cooking though, do you want to bet split decision at -160? I don't think so.
No.
That's my point here. It's 50-50 fight, and I will still take a dog. If it's a robbery or something, okay, we can't really control it, But I think this is a close fight, and possibly one takedown from Kalibo can win a round in this fight too. So that's another point, that if it's a close fight and Kalibo gets a couple, so a couple of takedowns at the end of the rounds, he could steal a couple rounds in this fight and win a decision still. So that's another path I can see for Kalibo, with late takedowns in each round.
Absolutely. I can see it. I really can. I can't ever get like the Patty the Batty split decision out of my head. Like these every once in a while, London has just that massive oh my god moment when it comes to their decisions and their fighters. So maybe I'll just bet the split decision prop, VP. Maybe that's it. Don't pick a side. Just pick the fight goes to a split.
Yep.
Mushroom clowning on me here a little bit. Fireball Soldier, they were a man's drink, but they lied.
Yeah.
Get out of here, Mushroom. Get out of here. All right. Let's move on, everybody. We are getting down to the good stuff here. Next up, you have got Jai Herbert taking on Faraziam in a super confusing fight for me, VP. Both these guys are kind of semi on my fade list. Jai Herbert, definitely. I'm definitely a Herbert hater. Faraziam, I can see the upside. I think there's some spots where maybe we can back him, maybe we can use him, but more often than not, I'm a little underwhelmed with Faraziam. The problem I have with Ziam is his volume. He's 13-4, trains at Kill Cliff FC, 3-2 UFC run. Very defensive striker, but he's one of those guys where he's so elusive, he's so defensive that he barely even gets his own offense off. And I think that's a bad look. I think he'll lose a lot of close decisions where he probably deserves to win, but because he's the less active fighter, the judges may not understand the defensive prowess that they're seeing on display, and they might give the aggression the nod for a decision. I worry about backing guys like that with my money, but he's super fast. He does strike pretty well on the back foot. He's a counter striker, and his big issue really was his grappling, but he showed big improvements of that in his last fight. I was worried about him defending takedowns against Figlak in his last fight. He's actually the one who landed the takedowns. He got 3 of his own takedowns against Figlak in his last UFC fight. So we are definitely showing improvements here. And Killcliff FC is a good, solid gym to be coming out of. I think he's going to continue to make improvements from there. Jai Herbert, however, once again, we're talking about the hometown guy. This is the Black Country banger. He's 35 years old, very tall, very rangy. He is a slick striker, man. And I really thought we had something here. In his UFC debut, I had such a big bet on this guy to beat Francisco Trinaldo. And VB, I'm never going to get that fight out of my head, because he won that fight clear as day. And then the term getting bonked has never been more appropriate than when Jai Herbert got bonked by Francis Trinaldo in the 3rd round of that fight. Looked like a newborn baby giraffe, the way his legs started going out of control, falls over in a heap. That was one of the weirdest knockouts we've ever seen, but it also let me know that this man's chin can let you down at literally any point in time. Now, he's not the chinniest man on the planet. It took Ilia Topuria nuking him to get him out of there. I actually thought Kyle Nelson and Ludovic Klein stood a shot to hit him on the button and get him out of there. He survived all that offense. So I'm kind of coming back around to maybe he's not quite as chinny. Maybe it does take a certain level of power to be able to crack that chin. And I'm not sure Faraziam is the kind of guy that has the power it will take to touch the chin of Jai Herbert. A lot of love coming in right now for Faraziam. He's gone from being a pick'em to a -150 favorite. Jai Herbert is +125 here at home. I don't like betting the older fighter, especially when there's this big of a age gap. You've got Faraziam 26 and Jai Herbert 35. Whenever you've got that 9-10 year age gap, the younger fighter wins so often. And the fact that Faraziam is making improvements to his game, where I think this is the completed version of Jai Herbert, makes me worry just a little bit. I think I'm going to pick Ziam to get the win, but I'm not trusting this kid at minus 155. I still think Jai Herbert's the better striker. Maybe Faraz comes out and grapples, but I don't know if he's improved that much to where he's just going to maul Jai Herbert for 15 minutes. I think this is going to be a technical kickboxing match, another close, tight fight. Another one I just really don't want anything to do with. I could see Jai having the bigger, more powerful, impactful shots, and he's got the crowd with him. So I'm going to edge split decision Jai Herbert, VB. How do you like this fight?
Yeah, so, unlike, Ashmouz and Parkin, I actually beat the line on Ziam. I bet him early, and I was able to beat the line by, 50 cents. So
nice.
I took him early, plus 105, I think. And, I think that getting back, yeah. So, like, that's the point with Jai, like, he can be winning the whole fight, and one right shot in the chin, and he's going to go to sleep,
Exactly.
But also, you got to give this guy credit for way he sets up some of his shots, his head kicks, especially against Ilya. He was almost like maybe a few shots away from stopping Ilya. Like,
Ilya hurt bad.
He hurt him so bad, man. I thought like Ilya actually got knocked out, and then Ilya woke up, like survived and knocked him out. At a point where I was kind of, is this guy gonna wake up? Like, way Jai got knocked out, he was completely unconscious. So that was a bad look, scary, yeah. So like Alistair Ziam actually impressed me in his last fight. He fought like okay fighter. People maybe underestimating Figlak, but he's not terrible. And this guy is 26 years old, and when people are this young and they're in good camps, kill cliff, people really improve fast. At this point, Jai Herbert is what it is. He's 35 years old. I think he's finished product at this point. He's gonna do what he does, But from Ferris, you can expect more and more as his UFC goes on, UFC career goes on. So I'm gonna take him in this fight. I think he should be in around minus 160 range, 170. So even now there's still value in the line, and I think that couple takedowns can easily win him this fight. Because he showed better takedown game in his last fight, honestly. So yeah, I think all the upside in this fight is on Ziam, to be honest. I know he lost to McKinney by choke, and before that to Damage, but I think he's completely different fighter these days, man. I really do. Like that Figlak win was good. I actually thought Figlak was gonna wrestle him, and he was able to take Figlak down. So there was a good look there. Jai Herbert, not impressed with Klein performance, not really impressed with Cardinals' performance either. He's probably, his best one is Kamawordi, I guess, which I don't really rate Kamawordi that high. Neither does UFC. So, yeah, I think that, possible finish from Ziam could come late too in this fight, if he keeps taking him down, because we have seen even Moicano completely break Jai Herbert on the ground. I'm not saying Fares Ziam is anything close to Moicano. Moicano is a very good grappler, but still, man, the more upside is on Ziam. With the takedown, I think cardio is around same. And I gotta give power edge to Jaido. I think that he has a little bit more power in his shots. His head kicks are pretty good, and though that's important. But I don't think Ziam is gonna get KO'd. I really don't. I think the way to beat Ziam is to be a better grappler and probably sub him, which Jai is not. So I think this is a kickboxing fight where Ziam probably mixes it up a little bit and wins. So I'm gonna take him. I got him 65% around. So.
Wow. All right. So a little bit of a disagreement. VB very confident here in Ziam. I'm definitely on the fence. I think pick'em price tag is probably a little bit more appropriate in this spot. I would lean dog or pass betting wise just because of that. But definitely, I've talked about it, guys. I'm doing something new this year, and so far it's paid off pretty handsomely. We're not going to bet the older fighters in these trappy positions, and that's what we've got here. And we're not going to bet the coin flips when we don't feel like we have a legitimate edge. VB thinks he's got an edge. He beat this big line move. He did his job. Good for him. I don't feel like I have an edge, and I don't like plus 125 on a coin flip. You give me plus 160, maybe we'll talk about it. But, until I get a much, much sexier number, I'm going to go ahead and keep my wallet in my pocket here for this one. All right. Next fight on the docket is an extremely intriguing one here, VB. We've got André Muniz welcoming Paul, the Bear Jew Craig, to a new weight class. And you guys know me. I love me some Paul Craig. Again, apparently I'm a Londoner. I love this guy. He goes full Braveheart, got the face paint and everything, gets mad at people and yells, and his face-offs are must-see TV. He's a lot like Ion Kutalaba. I dig it. I'm here for it. It's fun. It's entertaining. I love me some Paul Craig. The thing is, big red flag. Dropping weight classes late in your career. It's one of the things that I like to target here. I hate it when fighters are looking for new life at a lower weight class. If the weight cut's getting tough on you and you're younger and you move up, like Nathaniel Wood, that we'll talk about in a minute, that I think can be a positive. That I think can be a good move. Finding your true weight class at a younger age makes sense. But when you're 35, 36, 37, and instead of going up where maybe you can, have not as rough of a weight cut, things like that, you're trying to get that strength advantage over people smaller than you. That says to me that your technique, your skill is not where it needs to be. You're going down because you want to bully people. You're going down because people are not as strong as you. Your current skill set is not adequate, and you're looking for an extra advantage that is not going to be improvement. I don't like that. I think that's weakness. Yeah, Mike Harvey, here's the dogs barking in the background. My bad. So in this spot, I love Paul Craig. He can tap absolutely anybody on the ground. He just needs one takedown, but he's got no wrestling, VB, no wrestling whatsoever. He kind of marauds his way forward, awkward striking. His striking game really never came along. Weird kicks. I can't get the spinning back fist 3 times in a row out of my head when he got nuked by Alonzo Menafield. Like, he just has such bad offensive striking. And even against Volkan Oezdemir, you could tell he worked real hard on his wrestling, but he would get in deep on like a double or a single leg and just had no power from there. He had no ability to drive and get his opponent to the mat. He still had to pull guard. He still had to roll for ankles and heel hooks and leg locks. That's the only way he can get these fights to the ground. So he's dropping a weight class. We'll see how he looks on Friday. We'll see if he even makes the weight coming down here to this new weight class, because he's a big dude. Paul Craig is not a small man. His opponent, André Muniz, is a world-class BJJ practitioner. And just let me just emphasize that. This guy is not just a BJJ black belt. He's a world-class BJJ competitor. 23-5. He's coming off a bad fight where he ran into Brendan Allen, a guy who just blends the MMA game so well between striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. He was able to just kind of flow and style on André Muniz in that spot. But Muniz is by no means a bum after losing that fight to Brendan Allen. I don't think Paul Craig has the gas tank that Brendan Allen has, quite frankly. He definitely doesn't have the striking. He definitely doesn't have the wrestling. So a lot of people may look at that loss and be like, oh, Paul Craig's going to tap him out. I'm not so sure it's that simple, VP. I really am not. I actually think Muniz is the far better striker than Paul Craig is. And we've seen Paul Craig hurt on the feet and chinned by lesser men. And if this fight does go to the ground, even if Muniz gets a little overexcited and follows Paul Craig to the ground after dropping him and hitting him with a big shot on the feet, he's more than prepared to defend the submissions coming from Paul Craig, maybe better equipped to do so than anybody else Paul Craig has ever fought. You know, if Paul Craig gets down there with Jamal Hill, okay, that guy had no grappling to speak of at the time in his career. You know, he got down there with Antigulov, who, a wrestler first, not a jiu-jitsu guy, Vinicius Moreira, Alonzo Menafield. Like, these are the guys he's getting to the ground and threatening. Not a world-class practitioner. I think this favorite price is justifiable. The only reason I'm not like lining up to parlay André Muniz in this spot is because maybe the strength difference matters. If Paul Craig makes this cut successfully, if everything goes well, maybe the strength difference is enough. He does have that nuclear option of the submission there on the ground. I think it should be André Muniz. I want to see the numbers. I might take Muniz by knockout, VP. I actually think if he just keeps this fight standing and kind of does what Volkan Oezdemir does, if Oezdemir had any intent to finish in that fight, it was over. He had Paul Craig rocked and hurt 5 times over the course of that fight, and he stuck so religiously to the game plan of not following him to the ground that he just won a decision when at any point in time he could have had a knockout if he just decided to step on the gas a little bit. I kind of think that Muniz is going to step on the gas. So I'm going to pick Muniz, and I think it's by KO.
Wow. Well, look, I don't mind it. I mean, Paul Craig is one of the worst strikers in the UFC. There is no doubt about it. Like, he's so sloppy. He misses by, like, oh my God, like, he's just really bad, But his triangle is out of this world. I mean, God damn, man. This guy subbed freaking Ankalaev. He subbed Krylov, who is on a win streak at this point. UFC champ Jamal Hill. I mean, this guy's triangle is not to be played with. Like 2023 Clint, not to be played with. This guy's triangle is something. So I think even though Muniz is better grappler everywhere, he doesn't have better triangle than Paul Craig. I think that Muniz is better with his back takes. He's better when he goes for Kimuras, better with guillotine, everything. When it comes to triangle, Paul Craig, I think, is one of the best in the world. I really do. So I think it's like your dog, like barking was a sign. I think this is dog or pass at this line. I really do, man. I think it's at this point, like, I thought it was 60-40 fight for Muniz, but this line is going up to a point where plus 210 on Paul Craig. I mean, that doesn't sound too bad in my opinion. I think I'm gonna take Craig here. I think Muniz dealing with that loss, coming off a loss. He was close to a top 5, top 10 there, and had a bad loss over Brendan Allen. Got subbed by Brendan Allen. So you don't want to be known as one of the best grapplers and get subbed, So Brendan Allen is good fighter though. No shame in losing to that guy, but I just think that Paul Craig might have strength advantage in this fight too. He's coming down from 205. You can look at two ways. It's even worse. Like, this guy is carrying too much weight now, or this guy's gonna be bigger. He's taller, and he may be stronger. You're giving plus 210. Listen, I don't bet on this guy, to be honest. I faded him even with Krylov. I was wrong with this guy a couple of times, but in this spot, I think I'm gonna take him. It's dog or pass. As far as pick goes, I mean, I still think Mooney should be a favorite, but as far as betting, I think I'm gonna be on Craig, man. At this line.
All right.
If it was lower, if it was plus 120, 130, I would not be. But it's plus 205, 210. I think I'm in.
Okay. The number is everything, folks. The number is everything. I can understand it. Personally, Craig is so finish or bust, in my opinion. Like, I would only be looking at him inside the distance or maybe by sub or something like that.
Yeah.
But I actually almost like violence here a little bit better, VB. I've talked about totals way more often on this card than I have in previous cards because I do a total show on Thursday. But I actually think that an under would be appropriate in this spot because one way or the other, I kind of feel like these guys are going to get out there and do the damn thing. Whether it's Muniz by just being the better, slicker grappler and tapping Paul Craig, which is going to be very hard to do, but I think he can, or him knocking him out because Paul Craig is chinny and this weight cut may disturb that chin even further, or if that chin is fantastic and the weight cut goes perfectly and Paul Craig can triangle a world-class fighter because he's just that much bigger and stronger. Either way, I kind of think someone is getting finished in this fight.
Yeah, for sure. 1.5 under is plus 110. Maybe that's the play. It doesn't go is a little bit juiced, like minus 300, I think it is. I think that's not a bad parlay piece, but for me, if it's value, like I don't do parlays though, so I wouldn't really bet minus. I wouldn't lay minus 300. It's around accurate. I think it probably could be. There's some upside because these guys are gonna go there, and they're gonna be looking to finish each other. So those are the fights you want where there is no real like safe zone. This guy from his back is dangerous. Muniz on, probably can get knockout or even stop. So, it's just this fight seems to be under all day. But I think I lean 1.5 as a bet more than doesn't go with minus 300. I think if this fight ends, it's gonna be probably first 7 minutes.
For sure. I completely agree. It's probably earlier than later. So I don't play 1.5s very often unless I usually am kind of fading the narrative and trying to squeeze over that 1.5. This is one where I very much would be considering that under. So we'll see what happens a little later in the week. As always, if I add a bet or whatever, you guys, I will tweet it out. I'll let you know at that point. But the next fight up on the docket is going to go ahead and be I hit the wrong damn button. Nathaniel Wood taking on André Touchy Fili. I don't know what to make of André Fili, VB. I'm so lost on André Fili at this point. Like he's turned into one of the best gatekeepers in the game, but at the same time, like he just sometimes he shows up and sometimes he does not. He's super well-rounded, he's very skilled, he's a flowy striker, but damn, he just drops the ball sometimes too. I mean, he's 2-2-1 in his last 5. He's got that long, stiff jab that I just absolutely love. He'll switch stances on people. He's got that quick check left hook that you love to see. I just almost feel like he's topped out. You know, I feel like he's a guy that people had really, really high hopes for. He's got a ton of experience. He's 33 years old. I really feel like we've seen the best of Touchy Fili. This is just kind of who he is at this point. He'll get figured out by some people, but he's tough enough to hang in there and show these young kids the ropes every once in a while. The split decision win over Bill Aljo, very close, very competitive fight. That kind of just is exactly everything that I'm talking about here. But he's welcoming Nathaniel Wood. This is a big step up for Nathaniel Wood. Now, this guy is still in the process of kind of completing that move up to 145 pounds. 135 just got to be too much for him. He was real solid, real muscly at 135. It feels like he's undersized here to me, though, at 145 pounds. Now, I've told you guys before, I wait for the weigh-ins because the UFC numbers sometimes lie. But they've got André Fili as 5-inch reach advantage in this spot. Like, he's going to be so much taller and longer than Nathaniel Wood in this fight. And Nathaniel Wood, since moving up, has fought Charles Rosa and Charles Jourdain. Back-to-back guys now. Charles Jourdain is a great win, but he has no takedown defense to speak of. And it's really the story of that fight was the trip, the little foot sweep that he just kept going to. Jourdain had no answer for that whatsoever. Anytime Wood wanted that fight on the ground, or even just to score some flash points with the judges, he just hit that little foot sweep and Jourdain went down. That's not going to work as easily on Touchy Fili. Like, Touchy Fili is going to be able to make those kinds of adjustments. Touchy Fili's got better takedown defense than Charles Jourdain. And Charles Rosa, we know for a fact, we've talked about this before, that man has no takedown defense to speak of whatsoever. So not shocked he won either of those fights. But I think that size disparity, I think the fact that he's underweight for this weight class or undersized for this weight class, I just think it's eventually going to bite him. I don't think that he's worthy necessarily of this line at this point. I know a lot of people are going to the well right now with Nathaniel Wood at minus 200. I like the kid. I like the kid, VB. I really do. I like everything I see about him. I just think he's in the wrong weight class. André Fili at plus 165 kind of has my attention, but I'm also kind of feeling maybe another split decision. I think this is going to be a high work rate, competitive back and forth between two guys that have serious volume in their striking. And I'm not sure the takedowns are going to be there as much for Nathaniel Wood in this fight as they were previously. So you're not going to catch me laying 2-1 here. I haven't decided if I'm going to try and take that stab on Fili the other direction. Because again, that narrative of changing the guard, Nathaniel Wood is definitely the side when it comes to the age and the experience and the trajectory. But I don't like that price tag. I'll lean to André Fili. No bet here from me, VB. How do you like this fight, man?
Yeah, I will try to make it like short and simple. I think that Nathaniel Wood is not taking Fili down over and over. Like, I don't think that's gonna happen. You know, because if we look at Jourdain fight, how did the Fili beat Jourdain? Same thing. He wrestled him, you know, in round 2 and 3. As far as like striking goes, I don't see like huge difference in their like striking. They both do counter striking for the most part. They jab a lot. Fili a little bit more jobs than Wood, you know, which I like. Fili has reach advantage in this fight as well. I'm not even like ruling out Fili taking him down, to be honest. Like a little bit more. He's in better wrestling camp than Nathaniel Wood is, you know. Mm-hmm. So as far as pick goes, I will go with Wood. I think the line is about accurate. I don't think there's value on this line either side. I think it's perfectly capped fight. But if you want to bet like Wood, maybe you take a risk and take knockout, because I think I really think that Wood is gonna lose the third round quite a lot in this fight. So either he has to win first 2 rounds and then kind of coast in the third, you know, or he has to win by knockout early to win this fight, in my opinion. Both are real life. I think I'm gonna sprinkle knockout prop on Wood. I don't think that's a bad look. As far as like pick goes, man, I think this line is like spot on. I don't think there is any value on Wood at -200 when he has 5 reach disadvantage. This could be real bad decision too on Wood's way. I don't rule it out either. Like when Fili is pissed off at the judges, stuff like that.
Yep.
So I think Wood is gonna win this fight. I think it's gonna be first 2 rounds Wood because he's just throwing more, and probably Fili wins the third. He has good cardio, Fili. So when fights go late, usually he, you know, picks it up better. You know what I mean? So Fili round 3 maybe live as well. I think as far as like pick goes, again, Wood and Wood by KO plus 700. I think it is. Let me check. I don't think that's a bad look. He has to get, like, even if he wins a decision, he has to be close to Fili. He can't like play this distance game against Fili where he has huge disadvantage, right? So he has to get in and throw combinations, So Wood by KO, man, I think plus 550 now, moving down. Maybe why.
Okay. I don't mind the Wood by KO call. I'm a little skeptical, just personally speaking. André Fili is a tough guy to take out. I know he's been knocked out 3 times, but like, the last one was your Anderson Brito. Like, that's the type of guy it takes to knock this guy out. Yeah, you're Rodriguez with a head kick. I'm not sure Wood's got that kind of power up at 145. I don't mind. I love those bold calls, and maybe the kid pulls it off. But, for me personally, like I said, I think it's going to be more of a dog or pass situation. I'm probably leaving this one alone, folks. I'm probably just going to not touch this one because I don't have a particularly great read on either of these fighters. So, buyer beware. Be careful out there on this one. All right, everybody, we're getting down to the last couple of fights. Hang with us here. Smash the like button. Your co-main event on Saturday is going to be Molly McCann taking on Julija Stoliarenko, the queen of the armbar herself, VB. My girl, Julija. I actually really like Julija. She's another one of these, rough and tumble type of dogs that I like, and I've bet her a couple times before with mixed results. It's unfortunate. I thought she was going to, learn to transition that game a little bit better and be a little bit more well-rounded. It just kind of hasn't really worked out for her the way I had hoped. 10-7-1, taking on Molly McCann. 13-5-0, the hometown hero, Molly McCann. But Molly, just put the fucking belt down like that. Still maybe the number one cringiest moment in UFC history. And yes, I am including some of the awful things that Tito Ortiz said on the mic when Molly McCann grabbed a UFC belt and ran around with it. Just stop it. Just stop it. Julija's 30 years old, and we're talking about people with the nuclear option. She's got the nuclear option, man. If she gets your arm, you're done. 9 wins, all by sub. I apologize. 10 wins. She's got 1 win by decision. Somehow, some way, she beat somebody by decision. But if she gets top position on you, you're seriously in trouble. She made 1 slip up against my girl Chelsea Chandler, who let me down last week, and it cost her. She almost had another round 1 sub there in that fight. That's the fight that I bet on her, expecting her to be able to get 1 more armbar coming. Molly McCann, honestly, man, she's fun. I like Molly. I like her personality. She's good on the microphone. But as far as Barstool goes, they really could have picked some better fighters to like fly their flag behind, because I really think Patty and Molly both have ceilings that are a little lower than people are expecting them to. She's decent. She's got big pop in her hands for this weight class. She can hit. She throws big wild hooks. She's got a big, strong back on her. Honestly, she's got underrated wrestling. She's a better wrestler than people give her credit for. But recently, she kind of has fallen in love with her hands. The spinning back fist, the spinning back elbows, like she is just trying to go out there and take people's heads off. You watch the Luana Carolina fight. I've talked about this a couple times, breaking down Luana fights. She was gassing herself out because she wanted that finish so badly. She was redlining trying to get that finish. And Luana was just starting to pick her apart. Luana was starting to take over that fight right before that spinning elbow hit. I really thought Luana was well on her way to taking over that fight and either winning a decently convincing decision or maybe even clipping Molly in that 3rd round. Went the other way, but I think that weakness is still there and very prevalent, and Molly can be taken advantage of. Now, if she takes Julija down, she's right in armbar territory. And for a sub or bust fighter, I'm not betting Julija anyway other than by sub if we're going to get a little extra juice out of it. She is the most sub or bust fighter I think I've ever seen. But the UFC and Barstool are definitely giving Molly an opportunity to win a fight. She should have the advantage striking here on the feet. Maybe Julija's finally made those improvements I was looking for. I doubt it. The one thing I will tell you guys, I'm still in contact with my guy Andrew. There's no sharp action report this week, but he hit me up and let me know the big guy made one bet on this card. One bet on this card. He pops up about every other event, keeps that money very close to his chest, doesn't have a whole lot of action. He bet Julija Stoliarenko this week. So the number one MMA bettor who gets action down at Superbook Sports is on Julija Stoliarenko this week, VB. I cannot trust Molly McCann with my money at a favorite line. Just not going to happen. Just not the way I like playing things. I did do the Scousers parlay that one time about a year ago because both her and Patty were in complete layup situations when she fought Hannah Goldie. She was just never losing that fight. I can see a path to victory for Julija Stoliarenko here in this fight. It's pretty clear. It's pretty easy. She's the younger fighter. If anyone's making improvements, it's her. She's got that submission grappling advantage. And that's where Molly McCann loses. Historically, you look back at the way Molly fights go, Erin Blanchfield, better grappler, got her by Kimura. She lost the decision to this Laura Fritzen. She lost to Tyla Santos. She lost to my girl Jillian Robertson. Who else has she really fought? Lipsky, Cachoeira, Jiun Kim, Luana Carolina. Like if she fights string beanie strikers, Molly's great. She's fantastic. But as soon as she fights somebody that actually has some kind of grappling to their name, that's where she drops the ball. Buyer be warned, VB. I need an alarm for this one. Don't parlay Molly at minus 225. That's a bad line. This is dog or pass here for me. I'm not sure I'll get there. But I might be taking a sprinkle on Julija by sub. And if you play over on BetMGM, they've got the specifics props. I doubt they're sleeping on it, but let's see what that number is by armbar.
Absolutely, man. Like Julija, I mean, she has good armbar, but that's pretty much all she has, though. Like, I don't think I can back fighter like that. That is like one move or done. What if she gets knocked out? What if she gets back taken? It's like Molly's not gonna take anybody's back, but you know what I mean. Like she's so one-dimensional in MMA overall that I don't know if the guy you mentioned made a good bet. Maybe he did. Maybe I'm wrong. I think I'm gonna stay away from this fight. I don't really want to lay minus 200 with Molly in a spot where she's gonna spam spinning back fists and spinning elbows, and for a lot of people, like if they have good fight IQ, it's really easy to time a takedown, right? When you spam spinning, elbow 5 times in a row, people are gonna duck under and take you down. So Stoliarenko may do that, So I think that I can't really trust Molly. She may go for like highlight finish kind of KO or something, and may end up on bottom 10 times. So I don't wanna lay minus 200 with this kind of stylistic fight. So I'm staying away. I'm gonna pick Molly, but no action at all.
I hear you, VB. I hear you. And I'm glad Activate mentioned this because it definitely is something that I forgot to add into the breakdown. So thank you very much, Activate. Will Stoli even make it to the fight? Folks, she's dropping a weight class. I forgot to mention that. Stoliarenko is coming down 10 pounds for this fight, and she's a big girl. So that is a very big question. And frankly, that might sway my bet, VB, because on Friday, if she looks okay on the scales, or even if she comes in a little overweight, but it looks like the doctor made her stop the cut, she's not overly drained or anything like that, that's when I want Stoliarenko. She's going to have that size advantage. She'll be the bully in there. That's when I want Stoliarenko. But if she comes in and has an awful weight cut, if she can't make it to the scale, I'm not even convinced this fight happens, man. If that weight cut may be the thing that does her in this spot. So I'll be watching very closely on Friday. I think I'll be waiting to make a bet on this fight if I make any kind of a bet on it at all at the post weigh-in show after I see her on the scales.
Yeah, I can see your point because I think Stoliarenko missed 135 once, right? I could be wrong, but and then she's like now she's moving down. Yeah. Mali should be a favorite, and she is a favorite. And Stoliarenko again, like, can really trust her armbar that much to, put your money on her money line. Maybe just take submission. You know, that's the way
That's
to do it.
kind of the way I see it playing out for sure. All right, everybody, we are at the main event. This has been the Die Hard MMA podcast brought to you by Pub Sports Radio and Bet Openly. I've been joined by VB. Make sure you check our guy out, especially over on Twitter. He's got some shows coming out for you this week. One of the best gamblers I've ever seen when it comes to mixed martial arts. So support our guy. Check him out. Give him a follow if you haven't already. But let's talk about the big kahuna. We've got Tom Aspinall taking on Marcin Tybura. Welcome back, Tom Aspinall. Folks, I'm going to keep this short. There's not a whole lot of breaking down for me to do here, VB. There really isn't. This is a squash match. If Tom Aspinall has recovered properly from that knee explosion, he just destroys Tybura. I mean, the guy is a true heavyweight. He's an athletic freak. He's bigger. He's stronger. He's faster. He's a better wrestler. Maybe the one thing that we can give Tybura is he might be the better jiu-jitsu player, and maybe not even that. Like, Tom Aspinall is a sneaky good submission grappler. Tybura is a gatekeeper at this weight class. He's a guy who is going to expose you if you're not UFC caliber, if you don't belong in the contender circle. As soon as you get to that contender circle, that's the limit of his ability to win fights. Marcin Tybura is 24-7, and he's been knocked out 4 times. Now, I've talked about this a lot. I thought my guy Romanov might be able to get him out of there in the first round, but as soon as he wasn't able to, you live bet because he's going to gas out. That ain't happening here with Tom Aspinall. Tom is going to dance circles around this guy. If Tom wants to jab him to death, he will. If Tom wants to explode and nuke him, he will. If Tom wants to take this fight to the ground and out wrestle the jiu-jitsu player and put this big heavy man on his back, he will. VB, if you want to just anchor every single parlay you make this week on Tom Aspinall and then just come with a just baby little sprinkle on Tybura to break even and then let it all ride on the money line for Tom Aspinall, that's what I'm doing. I played some degenerate parlays just this morning with some NASCAR plays, and I anchored them all on Tom. I think he's just going to destroy this man. I'm going to call the knockout. I think he styles on the feet. The only question is the knee. If he doesn't come correct, if he's getting rushed back just a little bit before his body is ready, then we have a problem. But that's my only question. I think Tom Aspinall is more than deserving to be a minus 500 favorite here, and I think he finishes.
Oh my god, man! I don't know. Like, it's this fight. When the line opened, I was thinking, I think like Aspinall is gonna open like minus 250, and guess what? He did. Where is the line now? That's my point. I thought minus 250 was correct, but now line is minus 550, bro. Listen, Aspinall is a really good fighter. He has good footwork. His submissions are good. But this guy never ever saw third round in his life. Listen, it's gonna be really tough for Tybura to get there because he's gonna have to hit a lot of shots, and historically his chin gave up a lot. In a Shamil fight, in some other fights, but at the end of the day, he was a huge dog over Romanov. What did he do? Started bad. He was hitting a lot of shots, almost 10-8. As the fight went on, his cardio prevailed. So do I think that Aspinall is 85% after this long time off? His injury, which we have no idea how is it gonna look. Also, guy never saw third round in his life. I mean, come on. I mean, for me, it's dog or pass. Do I think plus 400 on Tybura is value? Yeah, man, I do. At the end of the day, this guy's 7-1 last 8. You're not dealing with guy who is like 50-50 like last couple and losing and getting knocked out. 7-1 last 8, even at heavyweight, is a good record. One loss to Volkov. Like if you do MMA math, like Volkov got stopped by Aspinall. But guess what? I knew he would because Volkov has no jiu-jitsu, and I had Aspinall up, in that fight. So that was good win there. But I just think when you're laying 85% on a guy who has been out over a year, who has this kind of injury, and we don't know about his cardio, you're asking too much. I don't think it's worth it. I don't think this is like parlay piece of the week or something. You know,
Mm.
I personally wouldn't put him in a parlay. You can do it if you want. I think like Murado is better option. For example, you know, like if you want to put somebody in every parlay or something. But you're giving me 85% on a guy who, again, we have no idea how he's ever gonna react to injury. He can come out here and his footwork may be completely different. You know, his gasting is already a big question. When Tybura fought 5 rounds, he usually breaks people later. Give me Tybura plus 400. You know, I mean, of course, Aspinall is a favorite. I told you, I thought he was going to be minus 250, and that's where it opened. But this line now is way out of hand, man. This is getting to a mismatch territory, and you have a guy who literally, you know, injured himself. Bad injury also. Don't forget, it's a very, very bad injury he had. Time off, untested cardio, 85%. Not for me, you know. I want to take him. No way. Give me Tybura.
All right. I get it. I get it, VB. That's the big question for me is just, has he healed entirely and comes back correct? Because that's the thing. If the answer is yes, I do think Tom is 85, 90%. I really do. But that's the question. Is he there? So, you know, be careful. I haven't bet it yet. Like I said, it's not like an official pick. It's not on my MMA record at this point because I parlayed it up with some NASCAR bullshit today. We'll see if I get like an official MMA bet down, you know, a sizable action or something like that on Tom at some point throughout the week. I don't mind taking the shot as long as he does come correct. We'll see. But I respect anybody going to war with Tybura. He has bit me in the ass more times than I would like to admit. I'll tell you guys that. Tybura shows up at the worst time possible every time I try to fade him. So maybe it happens again on Saturday. We'll see.
Yep.
VB, thank you so much for joining me on the show, man. Thank you very much for sticking with me for 2 whole hours, breaking down every single fight on this card. It was an absolute blast, my guy. The floor is yours. Tell the people what you've got going on. Let them know where they can find you and support you. Any shows and stuff you've got coming up. Have at it, man.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was 2 hours that like flew by. You know, it was great. Thank you for having me on. It's all about the lines, you know, when we break down fights. So that's what I do. Like, even though guys should be afraid, it doesn't mean there is no value on the other side. So it's all about the lines. Find me on Twitter. You know, if you type VBMA picks, I'm gonna probably show up. YouTube, same thing. I have new show, VB and Bobby show on YouTube as well. So if you wanna check me out, do it. Bet MMA, VBMA picks also top 10 at this point. So we'll see where we go. Clint, he was a blast. Like, it was really fun. Like, I've never broke down 15 fights for anybody before, but it was really good. So I hope we do well. You know, we for the most part we agree,
Absolutely.
but we should be able to dominate. Let's go.
We do pretty well when we agree, VB, and there's several spots on this card that we agree pretty strongly on. So I think we'll have a good weekend, man. Thank you again for coming on the show. I know these long form breakdowns isn't usually your thing, so the people definitely should appreciate the expertise and the full on breakdown. So we appreciate your time. We'll do it again sometime. Everybody, hit the like button on your way out the door, please. I am going to go ahead and put my Bet Openly link in here one more time. If you missed it earlier in the show, or if you just weren't paying attention, do me a favor, guys. Check out Bet Openly. If you're a gambler, you need that as an out. You need that as a resource, and it helps me out if you just click the button. So check it out for me, and we'll be back for the Total Takedown on Thursday, the Undefeated Post-Weigh-In Show on Friday. Of course, the boys go live here on Pub Sports Radio for a companion where we do live betting and gambling along with every single UFC fight stream. So check that out on Saturday. Folks, I'm exhausted. We worked hard. This was a huge card. I'd love to leave you with some kind of words of wisdom, but I got nothing for you. I'm going to go make some dinner. I'm going to go hang out with the wife and kid. You kick some ass this week. Make your mamas proud. Good luck with all your degenerate action. Let's roll.